Welcome along, everybody. We are back for 100% action. We are here in Zandvoort tonight then, and it's looking a bit overcast in qualifying then. But here we are then, ready for the Dutch Grand Prix. And we are ready to get ourselves started for qualifying. 18 minutes to set the grid then for the 72 laps that are going to come up here tonight then. Of course, quite a few laps that is, but a very short lap time overall, as we get ourselves ready to get qualifying then. Of course, there is Dark Shadow, or aka Kia, coming out onto the track then earliest, or the first on the circuit as well then tonight then. Good stuff indeed. Yes, right then, 72 laps around here. Like I said, it's a bit of a narrow and twisty circuit. One of the newest circuits to the calendar, but not so new anymore. We've had it for, I think it was about 4 seasons now, hasn't it? But done some pretty good racing around here before. Then we've seen some pretty epic racing around here before. Like I said, the narrowness of the circuit lends itself to a few mishaps as well. So we'll have to wait and see, especially in qualifying, if when the cars are being pushed to the maximum limit, then if they can hold on then to the car and keep it in the on the grey stuff rather than going in the walls or on the green stuff. And that's really need to avoid that sort of stuff. But there we are. into sector 3 we go then for Kia. Then Kia is going to start off the qualifying for us here in the Red Bull tonight, and we will see what he can do then into the long banked corner, the final corner. Oh dear, not having a great time then in the Red Bull. It doesn't look like them for Kia as he goes. Oh dear, oh my goodness me, that car is twitchy to say the least. And starting off the lap now, and we go through into Tarzan corner then to begin through turn 1. Then there's a Ferrari coming out the pit lane there, getting themselves out of the way, I think, just about. And there we go then into turn 3 now, another banked corner then, but now going very deep then for Kia then. Ooh dear, he's gone off the circuit then, but somehow kept it valid then, which is interesting. But he's done it nonetheless then, which is good stuff indeed. You need to keep it valid then to cross the line then with a valid time, of course, then to get yourself a time on the board. 25.7 in sector 1 then for the Red Bull driver. Then as we go through into sector 2 now, then flying over the curbs then into the next part of the circuit. So far so good then for the Red Bull driver then, heading into the next DRS zone. There's 2 DRS zones around this circuit then, in this on the main straight of course then, which is the longest straight on the circuit as well then. But now this back straight, this mini straight then down towards the chicane then into sector 3. And so far so good then for Kia then, keeping it very nicely done indeed then so far, as we head down towards the penultimate corner then into the final corner, which is technically one whole corner, but it looks like it's well, it looks like one whole corner, but it's technically 2 turns apparently, but there we go. So now up to the line then for Kia. Then what's it going to be then for the Red Bull? It's a 12.5, puts himself up to P1, of course, underway then in this qualifying session. Then Equad has had, he's going to get out of the way then, I think, of somebody else then, but there we go. Gina then round at the final corner, then Gina with some DRS to play with as well. Then up to the line for the Mercedes driver, and it's a 10.6 then for Kia, for Gina, sorry, into P1, then displaces Kia down to P2 as it stands, that is. But here comes Sick as Muck then. What can Sick as Muck do in the Ferrari, flying through the banked turn then of the final corner? Then good luck all then from Gordo in the comment section. Of course, Gordo is going to be racing in the Aston Martin. He's done a 10.8, then has Sick as Muck, which is good stuff indeed. Kamara Race has gone faster still with a 10.4 then. Brilliant stuff then from the Racing Bull driver. Then he's looking to get himself back on form then after having his 2 weeks off then for his holiday, and back underway now. But R2B then, of course, oh dear, all time's tumbling in now. But R2B then a 9.1, the first, sorry, 9.9, sorry, goodness me, that would be pretty impressive. A 9.9 then in the Aston Martin. Of course, he's been challenging the likes of Equaz and the likes of his teammate Gordo then for the top of the tree then in the championship. Then Equaz still holds on to the lead. Young Lights then into P2 with a 9.9 then from the Kick Sauber. Goodness me, I almost said the Kick Alpine again then. Vesche then a 10.5. Then puts himself P4 as a Mercedes getting out of the way. Then the Sickers not coming through. Then Dark Shadow down to P7. Then Equaz a 29.4. Not sure is his best time then, but he's going again. Then is the Williams driver. Then we'll see what he can do. Then Mumford up into P3 with a 10.0 onto the second row of the grid, I should say. Good stuff indeed. Now we go flying through into the penultimate, into the penultimate couple of corners in, but the final sector then for Equaz then looking to improve on a 29.4, but I'm pretty sure he can do that. He is pretty much capable, and has shown us then, of course, being the championship leader, you have to be doing better than a 29.4 around Zandvoort in qualifying, and it's a 10.045, puts himself P3, displacing Mumford down to P4, that both of them locking out the second row of the grid as it stands at the moment, that is. But I think we just had somebody else, no, I think it's Gordon then just starting off. No, it's R2B going again, I think. And so R2B's got enough fuel on board, enough ERS on board to go for a charging lap once again then in the current pole position as it stands. Then where is the Kick Sauber then of Young Lights? Then Kick Sauber for Young Lights going again as well, it looks like. So there's a few drivers then opting for 2 runs then on these soft compound tyres in this qualifying session so far. Then Dark Shadow back into the pit lane, and Hungry Style still in the pits as well. Then here comes Gordo then through into sector, no, he's going through into turn 3, sorry, and coming through sector 1 now to complete sector 1 very shortly. Ginger Rage is on circuit, so stay sharp then everybody, because that McLaren is going to be coming at you literally, because it's going to be very dangerous stuff indeed then for Ginger Rage coming through into turn 3 as well. Then once again, oh dear, he's gone a bit deep once again as well there through that corner, and I think that might have compromised his time on the exit, that is. But we'll have to wait and see. Then Justify then is new to the red cart, the red Ferrari, sorry, and he's taken his first full-time race here tonight then in the Ferrari as well. Then looking forward to seeing what he can do. Then Gordo is harvesting energy, so he's not going to be able to improve, but R2B is improved then to a 9.7 then in the Aston Martin. Brilliant stuff indeed. And Young Lights, can he hold a candle then to that time? Then can he improve as well by 0.2 of a second? I'm not sure. It didn't seem like it in the second sector delta then, did it? But we'll have to wait and see through the final corner as we go through. And here comes Young Lights then. I think he's coming back to the pit lane now, so yes, he is coming in the pit lane. So that is him done and dusted on that first attempt. Then here comes Gordo, and Gordo up to the line is going to do a 20.7, then puts himself P12, but I think going again then on his next attempt then for Gordo, and I think same for Justify then, just starting off another lap then very soon. Then Ginger Ray's done at 11.9, puts himself into P11 as it stands as well. Then going through Tarzan corner again, then is he going to go for a second push lap? We've seen quite a few people doing 2 push laps around this circuit so far in the opening stages of qualifying. 10 minutes left of the session now, but so far it is yes, it is, well, that is it really so far, to be fair. So there we go. Ginger Rage then is looking to get himself through the lap then once again. Then I think he's still on an attempt here, is he? I'm not quite sure. We'll have to wait and see what his sector 2 delta time is saying in our on the timing screen, sorry. But we'll have to find out then as it goes around into the second DRS zone now, and DRS is open then for the McLaren driver. Then heading down towards the chicane of sector 3. Then we have improved by 0.6 of a second. Then that would be pretty good stuff indeed. A good improvement there by Ginger Rage, but unfortunately that would keep him still in P11 as it stands then. But can he find more time then through sector sector 3. Then yellow flags are fluttering then for, I think, a few drivers coming back to the pits. As here comes Ginger Age round the final corner, then through the bank turn, then and up to the line. What's it going to be then for the McLaren? Can he improve on 11.9 I think it was, but he's improved by almost a second then to put himself into P10 here. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then justify an 11.0 as well, then P11 for him in the Ferrari then on his first full-time qualifying appearance as well then. Good stuff indeed. And Gordo then I think has had an issue somewhere because he's coming back to the pit lane. Oh, I think he'll be trundling back to the pit lane now. Coop coming out the pits from the Williams garage, and we've had Gina jump up to P2 then with a 9.8. Then he is less than half a tenth behind R2 Beat as it stands then, so the battle for pole position is going to heat up then in the latter stages of this qualifying session. Brilliant stuff indeed then for Mercedes and for the Aston Martins. Kick Sauber looking pretty strong then with Young Lights as well. Unfortunately there's two reserves who wasn't able to get themselves into the lobby then tonight, so there we go. But there we are then. That is that is why we've only got 18 so far then, but potentially we'll have some people joining in qualifying. We never know. We will find out. There won't be, but never mind. We've got the core group, the main group then of the racers then are taken to the track tonight here so far, and looking good in this opening stages of qualifying. Will we see some adaptations to that then in terms of the weather, then in terms of more times tumbling in then, and in terms of what the race is going to unfold as well. Then 75 laps. Goodness me, that's too many. 72 laps around here is going to be the full distance. That is, as we go through into sector 2 now for Young Lights. He's almost 2/10 of a second up, and then on his previous time that will put him into pole position as it stands. Then Young Lights is looking pretty good out there in the Kick Sauber then in this qualifying session. Then can he hold it together? Then can he improve even further then into this lap as well? Then as he round then into the middle part of the lap, then into the middle DRS zone as well. Then let's see what his sector 2 time is saying. Then as we've got yellow flags flashing then for Williams getting out the way, then he is unfortunately he's lost a bit of time then through into sector 2. And he's still looking to gain a bit of time. Then another tenth or so on his previous time would put him into the 9.8, that is, but it would still keep him behind Gina as it stands. Then through into the final bank turn then and up to the line. Let's see what Young Lights can do then here in the Kick Sauber. Then what's it going to be? It's a 799. Sorry, puts himself on the second row of the grid then just ahead of Gina, but unfortunately he is, what is that, 6 thousandths of a second behind R2 Beat then, so it's pretty close between the top two then on the front row of the grid then. Brilliant stuff indeed. And there we are then. We'll have to wait and see then who's next to cross the line. I think it might be a Williams. No, I'm not quite sure what is going on. Where's the other Mercedes then? He's where is Reflection then? Reflection is in P6 currently, but he's coming back in the pit lane. Never mind. So that's that. Then here comes Dark Shadow then starting off another lap then as well. Then Coop crossing the line. Then Coop up to P8, sorry, with a 10.4, puts himself into the top 10 very comfortably indeed then, and displacing Vessia then down to P11. Then Sickers Muck then is coming to cross the line then. Well, no, he's starting off another lap then is Sickers Muck, so never mind, we'll come back to him later. And Gordo is crawling back into the pit lane there, unfortunately for Gordo there. He has done a 10.4 then. I'm not sure that's his best time then. He might be looking to improve further on that, but we will come back to him later on in the session. Then 6.5 minutes left of the qualifying. Mumford then has saved up a lot of battery here. Is he going to go again on another attempt then, or is he going to come back into the pit lane? And he's currently P4 at 10.004 as well then with that time, but he's coming back into the box, and same for the Williams behind us. Here comes Young Lights out to the line. Young Lights has gone again. Right then, I'm getting very confused with the people doing double out laps here. It's very difficult to try and keep hold of, negotiate, I should say. Never gotten on well with Zandvoort since Gordo. Could be a long night, and so that's why Gordo is not a fan then of the circuit. Then R2 Beat has said good luck all them as well then in the comment section. Of course, R2B currently looking pretty good then for pole position as it stands there, but Young Lights is back on circuit then, still on a flying lap now into sector 2 then for the Kick Sauber. Then let's see what he can do then in this next lap then. Of course, he's done 2 out laps on this set of tyres. Potentially he's done even more. We don't know how old the tyres are, do we, on this one? 2 lap old tyres. I think this is his 3rd lap then, so 3rd lap then on these soft compound tyres then as we head through into sector 3 now. 10th up on his previous time. That would put him on pole position if he can hold on to it then through sector 3. Then here we go then in the Kick Sauber then up to the banked corner then of the final turn. Then can he hold it all together then through the final corner to get hold of this pole position here in Zandvoort? Then round the final corner, then DRS and ERS on the money, then up to the line for Young Lights. Then what's it going to be? Is pole position then for Young Lights in the kick Sauber then with a 9.731. Puts himself ahead of R2 Beat then by 6 thousandths of a second. Goodness me, I can't count. But there we are then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then Young Lights takes pole position. Then it could be his first pole position then of the season, and will be looking pretty good then indeed. And if he can hold on to that as well, then he's done a pretty impressive time there in the kick Sauber. Then let's just say that then Kamara Racer improving by a 10th of a second into sector 3. Can he keep it all together as well? Then can he improve then even more and potentially displace Reflection or even Equaz and Mumford down into the down to the lower echelons of the points paying positions as it stands? And here comes Kamara then up to the line. What's it going to be then for the Racing Bull? Then up to the line, it's a 10.0, puts himself in between Equaz and Reflection and puts himself up into P6 as well. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Sick as muck then it has improved then to P8 as well. Then I haven't seen his time unfortunately, but he's done himself a good job then getting himself up into P8 so far, and very nice stuff indeed as well. Then yellow flags in 1, 2 and 3 then of the track, so there's problems all over the place, and it looks like I think there's a car coming back to the pit lane of Young Lights, and he's just having a few issues trying to get that car stopped, or back in the box I should say. Then Ginger Rage is coming back around the circuit. Then watch out then everybody, here comes Ginger Rage round the bank turn then of the final corner. Then goodness me, almost going into the wall then it looked like on the exit but he's coming back in the pit lane nonetheless. Then Farf is on track, then he's done 11.0, then puts himself P15. We just had someone jump up the order. It was Justify into P9 right behind his teammate by less, or just over a tenth of a sec, half a second I should say. Then goodness me, that's close indeed between the Ferrari pair, and both of them in the top 10 as it stands as well. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Then as we got who we got with Equaz then starting off another lap. Then Jinner coming round the final couple of corners in. Can Jinner then steal away that pole position from Young Lights? Can he get himself onto the front row then ahead of R2 Beat? Here he comes then up to the line, and it's going to be pole position with a 9.642, and that's almost a tenth then ahead of Young Lights as it stands. Brilliant stuff indeed then from Jinner. Then Young Lights back in the pit lane now with 3 minutes left to go then, but Jinner then steals away the pole position then for the Mercedes team at the moment. That is 3 minutes left of the session then, but brilliant stuff indeed then from the Mercedes driver then to take away that pole position as it stands. Of course we will have to wait to see then if that's going to be beaten, of course. But here comes Equaz then into sector 3 as well, then 0.2 of a second up then on his previous time. That would put him into, actually that might put him into the range then of R2 Beat's time, potentially Young Lights time as well then, as we go through into the final couple of corners. Then yellow flags fluttering for a Red Bull, I think, who's had an issue somewhere, and that might be Dark Shadow then, who's had an issue somewhere in P16. And here comes Equaz up to the line. What can the Williams driver do? It's a 9.7, sorry, puts himself P2, and a massive improvement, then puts himself on the front row of the grid then with that lap time as well. Then brilliant stuff indeed for Equaz. Kamara Racer has retired in the pit lane. He is not going to be starting any higher than P6 then in this Grand Prix, unfortunately for him, as Jinner then trying to get himself back into the box, and I think he's going to have a bit of a long time going around that final corner then, with no fuel in that car at the moment it stands, as it looks like I should say. Then goodness me, so far so good then for Jinner, for Equaz, for R2 Beat and for Young Lights as well, sorry, as we've got Mumford coming back out of the box then to start off a final flurry then of fastest laps I should say, hopefully that is, but goodness me. Right then, here we are then. R2 Beat is starting off a lap, I think then. Yes, he's going again then. I'm not quite sure what he's doing there. He is going again then nonetheless, but away he goes then. Equaz then is also on another lap then, I think, as well, coming back into the pit lane, but unfortunately he's not improving on his time. I think that's Equaz done in qualifying here. Where have we got the other action then, as the coupe starts off another lap then. Vessia coming round the final corner then to start off a lap as well, I believe, as is Ginger Rage. Ginger Rage is on a flying lap then, but there's quite a lot of traffic there for Ginger Rage then to try and negotiate. And going through turn 3, Gino has retired in the pits, I think. And that is him done and dusted in qualifying for Jinner. Then his pole position as it stands, and Equaz is also retired. Then he is done and dusted as well. Then that's P2 done, unless somebody can try. Oh goodness me, there's all sorts of problems there for Ginger Rage then on his flying lap then, and I think that was a Ferrari getting in the way then a bit slightly, but goodness me, I think Ginger Rage is going to be very unhappy with that person, whoever that was. But nonetheless, hopefully he has got time, I think, actually, to harvest some ERS then and go again then on another lap then. So it's not all doom and gloom just yet then for Ginger Rage. Dark Shadow starting off a lap then into turn 1 we go. Then we've got an Aston Martin of Gordo. No, it's not Gordo, it's Gordo's teammate of R2 Beat, who has improved to a 9.648 9.8 then puts himself into P2 ahead of Equaz, but he is 0.06 of a second away from pole position here. And what a fantastic lap time indeed from Ginner then. 0.06 of a second then to claim pole position. Then R2B I think is done and dusted in qualifying. Then Young Lights might have something to say about it as well though in P4. Then he's back on track then. So is Mumford as well then. Where is Young Lights? And Young Lights coming through into sector 3 now. Then he's 49,000 of a second down on his time, which is not the right way he wants to go then. But coming through now into the final part of the lap. Then yellow flags fluttering away then once again as here comes Young Lights then through the final corner. Then this is his final chance then to take away that pole position then from Young Lights, from Equaz, RGB and Ginner. Then here he comes up to the line. He's improved by 11 pounds of a second, but he stays P4. Goodness me, what a lap indeed then. What a qualifying indeed then for the top 4. And here comes Mumford then to try and get himself in the positions as well. Then here's P5 then with a 9.8, then puts himself in P5, stays P5 I should say, goodness me. 5 stays P14, a 10.8 for the Alpine driver then. Where is the Red Bull then of Dark Shadow? Then Dark Shadow crosses the line, 12.1 for him. We've got an Aston Martin of R2B. He's back in the pit lane there, so that's him done and dusted in qualifying here. Kiki then next across the line. Then Kiki then on the brink then of the top 10, then into the top 10 with a P6 then, 10.0 then for Kiki, then puts himself on the 3rd row of the grid then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Where is Gordon? Then Gordon crosses the line, P8 then for him. Ginger Age jumps up to P14, displacing Farf down the order. Then Ferrari coming in the pit lane, that's Justify, sorry, that's Sick as Muck crossing the line, P10. And Reflection also in the pit lane as well then. R2 beat in the pits, and that is qualifying. No, we've got Vessier, sorry. No, Vessier's unfortunately coming back in the pit lane as well then. So that is qualifying done and dusted then in Zandvoort. Brilliant stuff indeed. And like I said, actually to be fair, for the top 5 or top 6 actually, it was pretty close indeed. Then the Racing Bulls then split by just over half a tenth of a second there as well. Then P6 and P7 for Kiki and Kamara respectively. And we'll run through the classification in full then very shortly indeed. But there we go then. That is the grid then set for the 72 laps to come up here tonight then of the Dutch Grand Prix. Big Hour has said, good evening ladies and gents, and good evening and good luck then from Ginner as well then. Ginner then is on pole position and only by 0.06 of a second, but it looked pretty comfortable because he retired very early on, didn't he, Ginner? Didn't take that final attempt in qualifying, then he knew he had pole position wrapped up. Then R2 beat to P2, Equaz P3, Young Lights P4 then, making up the 2nd row of the grid. Then Mumford and Kiki on the 3rd row of the grid as well. Then Kamara and Gordo P7 and P8, then Reflection and Sick as Muck round off the top 10. Justify Coupe in P11 and 12. Vessia P13, Ginger Age in P14 in a bit of an Alpine sandwich with Farf in P15, Dark Shadow P16, Hungry Styles in P17 and Mushroom P18. Then and unfortunately KD and Legend then didn't get themselves into the lobby in time. Out of interest, are there any lady drivers in ALR? I don't believe so, but there used to be. I think we used to have 3 female drivers who raced with us. Welsh Madnardo, Baguette, and somebody else, Hannah, I think it was maybe. But that was a few seasons ago now, to be fair. Let's put on a show then, says Ginner. Then I know there has been, not sure, says Ginner as well. Then yeah, that's confirming my suspicions. I don't know, to be fair, but I don't really ask. So there we are then. But good stuff indeed. Yeah, yes. So of course, any driver is welcome from any nationality, any creed, any religious background, any ethnic backgrounds, any female or male or LGBTQ backgrounds. Sorry, I'm butchering this. Right then, I'm going to get on with our sponsor announcement. Sorry, bye. Right then, sorry about that. We had a quick interlude then, but the drivers have already got themselves going here in the formation lap. soft compound tyres for our pole sitter then, and our, of course, last week's race winner as well, then Jenna in the Mercedes. Then medium compound then for R2 Beat and Equaz, then P2 and P3. Hard compound tyres for Young Lights and Mumford then on the P4 and P5 respectively. Both the Racing Bulls opting for the medium compound tyres, as is Gordo and Reflection P8 and P9. Sick as Muck on the hard compound tyre in P10. Justify his teammate then just outside the top 10 then on the medium compound tyres. So is Coop and Vessia, as is Ginger Age 5, Dark Shadow, Hungry Styles and Serious Mushroom then. So majority on the medium compound tyres, 3 drivers on the hards and 1 driver, our pole sitter, then starting on the soft compound tyre here. So let's see how it's going to unfold then in this Grand Prix. Then it's going to be pretty exciting stuff indeed then, especially in the opening laps. Then we will have to hold our breath then and wait and see how it's going to unfold. 72 laps around this Grand Prix. It's going to be absolutely epic stuff indeed then, as we get ourselves lined up on the grid. And I will preemptively switch it to position changes so that we can watch the race start without me messing about, going all over the place trying to find out where I am in terms of the position changes then on the opening lap then, as we get ourselves lined up on the grid then to start off this race as well. Then so far we have got well, we've had a pretty epic qualifying. Then can we hold on to that pace then? Can we keep that up in the Grand Prix itself? Then we'll wait and see as we get ourselves ready to start racing, I hope. And yes, there we go then. 5 red lights are on here in Zandvoort then. The 5 red lights are out then, and away we go for the Dutch Grand Prix. Then a good start indeed. Then I think then from Ginna then, who's ghosted, and there's a Mercedes, as a Mumford, I think that's ghosted as well then. Goodness me, then there's all sorts of ghosting action. There's a Williams then who's had a problem then at turn 1 as well. Then Coop spun around then to the back of the field as we go through then into turn 3. The top 4 all status quo. Then Kamara Race has got himself past his teammate then up into P5, and Keychains dropping down, or stays P6 actually. Mumford's dropping down the order. Then Mumford's had a problem there somewhere. He's got himself back underway then quickly enough then, but on the hard compound tyres he's struggling on this opening lap then compared to those around him as well. Then down to P9, then Farf and Sick as Muck then battling away. Then both the Alpines have passed the Ferrari then, of course Sick as Muck also on the hard compound tyre as well here at the opening stages then. So it's going to be taking a bit of a while to warm up here, so they've had a bit of a slower start then than the rest of the field. That is back underway then as we get ourselves going once again then into the middle part of the lap. Then Mumford's had a bit of a slide. There's an Alpine off the circuit there, and Farf's trying to recover now, and he's lost positions then to everybody then. It looks like almost brilliant stuff indeed from Farf. Goodness me, what a dive bomb that is from Justify. I think there's all sorts of action into the chicane here, and Ginger Age has got a bit well, not a bit confused, but I think a bit miffed by that. And there's more ghosting going on between Sick as Muck then and Farf then. I think, goodness me, there's all sorts of shenanigans going on here. Ginger sets the fastest lap of the race then. He has got a 6/10 gap at the front now between himself and R2 Beat. Then down the main straight, there's all sorts of movement going on there, which you're not really meant to be doing. Then as we go into Tarzan corner, there's a McLaren going very wide. Then that's Ginger Age, and he's off the circuit slightly. And Cooper's gone through then into P16. Then Hungry Styles up into P15. Then right behind Serious Mushroom as we head into turn 3. And goodness me, then there's all action in the back of the field actually at the moment. Then the top 4 remain unchanged as we go through into lap 2 now. 70 laps to go then at the end of this one, so there's still quite a while to go. Mushroom then defending from Coop then as we go into the next right-hander then as well. Then Mushroom then is ahead up into P14 as well then. Good stuff indeed from the Mushroom as it stands, that is. But of course we've got a long race to go then. We'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold for every driver, that is. Mumford then has got himself back underway, but unfortunately there has those hard compound tyres have been very costly off the start then as well, then it looks like. So he's unfortunately dropped down to P10. 5 places lost then for the Haas driver. Then, but of course, he's on the hard compound tyre. Will be going longer in the first stint than those on the mediums and the softs, especially. Or one driver on the softs, everybody else on the mediums, pretty much. But there we go. So as we'll have a look and see what the order is saying as we go through onto lap 3. Then Gina then has held on to the lead. Then he's got himself a bit of a challenge then from R2 Beat. Then R2 Beat staying with the Mercedes for the time being. Equaz has dropped off in the Williams in P3. Then there's all sorts of action in the background. Then Kiki trying to go for a move on Gorda then, but seems to have just got himself in a bit of contact then with the Aston Martin, and managed to keep the car pointing in the right direction. Then Reflections into the pits then, but he's not changed that front wing then, unfortunately for the Mercedes driver. He's had some sort of damage then on the third lap then, or on the second lap, sorry. which has not gone very well then for the Mercedes driver and the Mercedes team. Ginger Age has passed Styles then into sector 2 now, up into P15, or back up into P15 I should say, then for Ginger Age. And Reflection coming out the pit lane unfortunately has put on a new set of tyres, but unfortunately has not been able to change that front wing then. Sick as Muck has been passed by Mushroom, then the hard compound tyres not working at this stage of the race then for Mumford and for Sick as Muck. Actually working pretty nicely for Young Lights though, but he's got a bit of pressure from Gordo then in P4 and P5 respectively. We'll go and have a look at that battle then as well. Then here we are going through into the sector 3 chicane. Then R2 Beat has now got a 3/10 of a second gap then to the Mercedes of Ginner, then going through the final corner then into lap 4 very shortly, as here comes the Aston Martin then with some DRS. Can he make a move for the race lead then into turn 1? Then Ginner then covering the inside, then here comes the Aston Martin then going to go around the outside into Tarzan corner. Then can he hold it is the question. No, he can't. Then the soft compound tyres of the Mercedes working very well then to maximise the grip then and the traction on the exit of turn 1. Young Lights has lost out to Gordo then, but of course like I said there's a tyre deficit or tyre difference there between the Kick Sauber and the Aston Martin driver as well then, so we'll have to wait and see then how that changes later on in the Grand Prix. Then Farf has got a bit of pressure then from Mumford. Then both the Alpines have got themselves into the top 10 then on that in the opening few laps here as well. Then lap 4 has commenced, then Reflection back in the pit lane, and hopefully this time it does change his front wing then for the Mercedes driver then, for his sake that is, as unfortunately he's going to be quite far back then. But of course safety cars are quite common around this circuit, so we'll have to wait and see then if that's going to be a factor then in this Grand Prix as well. We're only on lap 4 then, so hopefully we don't have too many safety cars, but there we go. Then trundling out the pit lane now goes Reflection. Thankfully he will still be on the lead lap, but his teammate leading the way is under a bit of pressure then from R2 Beat as it stands that is. But as we go through into the final couple of corners, it looks like R2 Beat is going to challenge once again then for the race lead, as Reflection is back out on the way then and ahead then of his teammate then I thought he was coming in the pit lane there was Ginner, but no, not quite then, as my goodness me, then it's going to get tight down there then if you're going to go down the inside, and he has gone down the inside, has R2 Beat. Then has he got the position this time? Then yes he does then as well, then up into the race lead then for the Aston Martin. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then Ginger Age has passed Sick as Muck then up into P14. There's action here between Kiki and Young Lights as well. Then as we go into, oh goodness me, I thought we're going to go into the back turn, and look at this under the underway. I'm trying to go this way and that way I should say, goodness me, I'll just say that. I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say to be honest, but Kiki trying to go up and under, that's it, and unfortunately didn't work out for him. He stays behind Young Lights for the time being. They've lost out to the DRS then of Gordo, who's now into a bit of no man's land to be fair. He's got a 1.7 second gap then to P3 and a 1.2 second gap then back to P4, P5 sorry, but he's in a bit of a lull at the moment in this opening stages of this stint as well. Then heading into sector 3 then Ginner now trying to repeat the feat then and get himself back into the race lead, then getting past R2 Beat this time. Then can the roles reverse then into turn 1 then into the Tarzan turn, but now through the final corner. What a fantastic camera angle this is as well, and it reminds me of F1 Manager 24, as here comes Ginner then onto the main straight, and looking to use the DRS and using the slipstream of the Aston Martin that's breaking the toe then in front of him, and into the race lead he goes, then back up into the race lead. Then Young Lights has lost out to both the Racing Bulls, has he? Oh goodness me. It's tight indeed. Then, oh goodness me, there's more contact there. Kiki has lost out to his teammate then, and Kamara Racer up into P5. Then Farfar's passed his teammate Vessia up into P8 now, and now they've got a bit of a queue forming behind the Alpine cars, as we've got 2 seconds up to Young Lights then as our next challenger then. But of course Mumford, Coop, and Coop's got himself back up into P11 then after that first lap mishap as well then, which is a pretty good recovery, quickly recovered then I should say then from the Williams driver as well then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Now trying to challenge for the points paying positions here. Hard compound tyres I think for Mumford and for Young Lights, and Sick as Muck then should have warmed up by now and should be in a decent nick now, to a decent temperature range that is, to try and compete then with the medium compound tyres, and maybe not so much the soft compound tyres, but there we are as we head into end of lap 6 now. Here comes the 2 race leaders, then they split off for Equaz by 2 seconds as it stands, but Equaz is still there in the distance. You can see where he is right there, but here comes R2 Beat once again to try and challenge then into the first turn. Then he's close enough, and he's very close indeed then as they cross the line. He's almost side by side then with the Mercedes driver as we go into Tarzan corner once again, then round the outside for R2 Beat. Can he hold the position this time? Yes, he can. Then he's taken the lead then back from the Mercedes of Ginner, then up into P1, then Ginner down to P2. Then, of course, these two carrying on there battling. Could bring Equaz and Gordo back into the fight. Then Kamara Racers held on to P5. Then P6 still. Then Young Lights dropping down to P7 again on the hard compound tyres. Then might be starting to struggle. Then the Dark Shadow is in the pit lane. Then Dark Shadow has called it a day on the medium compound tyres already. Then has he got some damage? Then I think he has. He's sorting out a wing change there. So unfortunately for Dark Shadow, then he's coming into the pit lane to sort out that front wing damage then, and get himself onto a new set of boots at the same time. There we are then, out in front. Then half a second separates Junior and RTB. Gordo's had a problem then. Gordo's had an issue somewhere because Gordo's got off the circuit then, and goodness me, Gordo's had a problem then. He's dropped down to P7 there. I'm not quite sure what happened. Then he might have lost the car through Sector 2, which is possible. I can definitely do it, so I'm sure everyone else can. To be fair, that's not really a challenge, is it, really? So there we are. But Gordo has lost the car then somewhere and dropped down to P7. Then Kamara up into P4 now. 3 seconds the gap then to the podium places then for the Racing Bull driver. Then Kiki in close proximity as well, then as is Young Lights and now Gordo as well. Then as R2B sets the fastest lap of the race, and here comes Junior then trying to get himself back up into the race lead, but he can't quite do it. Then R2B holds on this time as we go into Tarzan corner. Then here comes more challenging then from the Racing Bulls. No, not quite. And then between Kiki and Kamaro, Farver's got himself past his teammate into P8, then into Tarzan corner as we go on to lap 8 here as well then. So far so good then in the opening stages. Like I said, it's quite early on in this race though still, as we're only 8 laps in, or 7 laps in really, but onto the 8th lap then of 72. Then of course this is going to be a pretty fast paced set of racing. This track then, I thought Coop was trying to line up a move then into a Sector 2. There's not really an overtaking place unless the other car's got severe problems really, but Coop then just eyeing up a move, then potentially trying to unsettle the Haas of Mumford into Sector 2, but it hasn't done the job then just yet. Then Mumford still holding on then very nicely indeed on the hard compound tyre then as well. Then of course the highest runner on the hard compound tyres is Young Lights. He did start in P4, has dropped down 2 places, sorry, but he is still holding station so far. Then now the hard compound tyres have got into their zone a bit more in the 7th lap of the race. Then so far so good then, as here comes Gino once again then on the attack then for the race lead. Then he's going to get himself down the inside of the Aston Martin, and he's got the move then for the race lead and takes the position once again then. So these two carrying on their fight then, 4 seconds back, or 3.8 seconds back I should say, don't want to be too much of a disservice, but 3.8 seconds back then is Young Lights, is Equaz. Versio back past Favre then into Tarzan, and these two carrying on their fight as well then. Serious Mushroom then in the fight then for the edge of the points paying positions, as is Justified. Then yellow flag for Dark Shadow, who's driven off the circuit, just driven straight off the circuit there. Unfortunately, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Reflection is back up into P17 now, but Dark Shadow is struggling out there, and there are the race leaders in the background as well. Then goodness me, it's only on lap 9 then, but Dark Shadow is under threat then from getting lapped in this Grand Prix, unless there's a safety car or something that can unlap him, I suppose you could say. But he's going to have to come into the pits to sort that front wing out. Then here comes Junior then into Sector 3, and yeah, that Red Bull is struggling then with that wing damage as well. Then here comes Junior. Then of course the ghosting is going to be on for the lap car, so it's not too much of an issue, but there we are then into as we go into the bank corner then to finish off lap 9. Gino is going to be under pressure once again then from R2B, who's already on the back of him then as we go over the start finish grid, and R2B then is going to go through then into P1, down the inside then into Tarzan corner. Then he's got the position, then he's got the they've got the traction as well then on the exit it looks like, and he has held on to the race lead now this time. Kiki and Kamara Racing then holding station as well, then as is Young Lights and Gordo. Farf and Vessia then continuing their fighting then into Tarzan corner then, and I think Farf almost blocked off his teammate there, which is going to get well, it's not going to be too good then for the likes of Mumford, Coop and Mushroom and Justify and everybody else then who's right behind them. That could be a bit of a concertina effect then, but so far onto lap 10 we go then, and it seems okay, let's just say, but right then it could get a bit spicy then as we go into this further into this Grand Prix, as oh goodness me, it looks like Mumford is pushing the Alpine through there. Dark Shadow has carried on then on his lap for some reason. We could have just come into the pit lane then and sorted out that front wing. It looked like it was a bit damaged, let's just say that, to say the least, but unfortunately they're not working out then for Dark Shadow on this occasion so far. Of course, like I said, safety cars could bring them back into this race, but we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen here. But into the, oh goodness me, in the background there, that's Serious Mushroom making a lunge on Coop then into the chicane. I think that was a bit of an unwarranted lunge as well, and I'm not quite sure Coop is going to be too happy about that, but nonetheless then nothing untoward happened then. I think they've all gone filing back into the order as we go on to lap 11 here then. Here comes Mumford on the attack this time. Can he get himself past an Alpine. That would be very helpful indeed. And he's going to go past one Alpine then, because he's going down the inside then of Vessia. Then there's tight indeed. He's on the curve there on the inside. Then there's still side by side as we go through into turn 2 and 3. Oh my goodness me. But they've made it through safely, which is one of the most important things. And there we go then, as once again, Mumford with a good exit this time. Can he get himself past the Alpine this side? Oh my God. This is where there's usually massive contact and massive spins and 2 drivers out of the Grand Prix there, but thankfully both of them avoided that. Dark Shadow's got himself back in the box then, sorting out that front wing onto a new set of medium compound tyres and back underway. Then Jinner has not been able to get himself back into the race lead then since R2B got himself past a couple of laps ago now, but Jinner's still holding on to the DRS range then of the Aston Martin. Those soft compound tyres, how long will they last then in this Grand Prix? He's the only man who started on the soft compound tyre, so it's going to be interesting to see how far they can go then in this race. It looks like the hard compound tyres have kicked in now, because Young Lights is starting to put the pressure on Kiki now. He's got himself away from Gordo as well. Then Gordo's lost out to the DRS then of the kick saber as we go through into the final corner. And now on to lap 12 of 72 then. 60 laps remain then, but so far 12 laps have been going through pretty quickly indeed as it stands. Jinner then is still all over the back then as we go into turn 3. Far from Vessia then switching places as well. Then Mumford's lost out to Coop. Then Mumford then looked like he was on the attack then of the Alpine drivers, but he couldn't get himself past, and now Coop has taken the charge. Then he's taken himself up into the points paying positions as well, into P10 that is, but right behind the Alpines once again. Then can he get himself through? Can he have more luck than Mumford in getting past the Alpine blockade here on lap 12? Pretty good action so far in the first 12 laps. Like I was saying, it's been overtake central in this race, even though it's not a very easy overtaking circuit, apart from pretty much the main straight then, and this DRS zone as well then especially. But yeah, it's been a pretty good opening few stages then to this race, and Jinner then trying to hold on to the race leader then currently of R2B then on those soft compound tyres. We're not sure how long the softs will last in this Grand Prix, but it won't be too long, I don't think, until Jinner is having to call it a day on those soft compound. Of course, starting the race, and the only man on the softs to start the Grand Prix. Here comes Young Lights then putting the pressure on the Racing Bulls then of Kiki and Camaro as we head onto the main straight once again then. And I think actually we've got some action at the lead. No, not quite. I thought Jenny was going to go for the move then, but not quite then. Into Tarzan corner then, and status quo then between the kicks Albert and the Racing Bulls. Then Farf then back ahead of Vessia. These two carrying on their fight. Vessia's gone in the back of his teammate, and my goodness me, Mumford and Serious Mushroom then are battling away as well now. Mumford has held on to P11 for the time being. The problem is the Alpines really, because all of this queue, then the McLarens, the Ferrari of Justify, Mumford as well, and Coupe. Hungry Stars maybe soon to catch up to the queue as well. Then all of these drivers then are stuck behind the Alpine pair. Then the Alpine pair sort of been fighting a bit between the two of them, and it's really just caused a blockade then between the rest of the field. Then as we've got yellow flags. It was for Dark Shadow, who's got himself back underway then. Mumford has passed Coop. Oh, Coop's off the circuit slightly there, and that could open the door for Mushroom as well, then to sneak around the outside here. And he has snuck around the outside here. I'm not sure if there was contact then, or if there was argy-bargy then, or if Coop just lost the car slightly then. But no, down the inside of Mumford goes Serious Mushroom as well, then on the charge then. Goodness me, he's had his Weetabix today then, hasn't he? Has Serious Mushroom then, now passing Mumford then into P10 then. R2B says fastest lap of the race, sorry. But Jinner then is staying status quo then as it stands then. Kiki then on the back of his teammate, not quite, and no moves made for Young Lights either as well. Then here comes this train of this goodness me, what is it? It's a queue, let's just say that, as Mumford then is dropped down to P11 then right behind Serious Mushroom. Then he's gone through then on the medium compound tyres, and he's trying the next person to try his luck to get past the Alpine blockade for the next attempt, I should say, as there's been quite a few who've tried but failed unfortunately at this stage of the race, that is, but there's still quite a long way to go. Yes, it's all okay. But there we go then. P8 currently is Farf. Then he is 5 seconds behind Gordo. Gordo's trying to catch up to the top 6 as it stands then. Of course, he's 1.5 seconds. He's half a second away from the DRS then of Young Lights. If he can get himself in that window, that would be very helpful indeed then for the Aston Martin driver. But he doesn't like this circuit, as we've heard in qualifying. Can he try and redeem himself in the race then and get some points for himself and the team as we go through into this race as well then? But now into Sector 3 then. Mushroom then made the dive on Mumford. Mumford last lap, but he's not making a dive on the Alpine of Vessia this time, but he's getting closer and closer then as we go into the final corners here of lap 14, I think it is, for these drivers anyway. The race leaders have started lap 15 as it stands, and I think Ginner's had a problem then because he's lost out to the DRS then of R2B. He's got a 1.4 second gap then in the lead, and here comes Vessia then on the attack then. They go down the inside. There's an incident then between Kiki and Young Lights then, both of them off the circuit here, and Young Lights has got himself back on the way that, oh goodness me, they're all in the tree. Oh my god. Oh my god, that is terrifying. Kiki was ghosted then, but yes, goodness me, yes, we're not quite sure what was happening there, but Mushroom then has what's Mushroom doing? Mushroom's had a problem there. Oh my god, the McLaren's almost come together then. Mushroom nearly took his teammate out, it looked like then, but I'm not quite sure if Mumford had Kiki's got wing damage. I'm not quite sure if Mushroom had a penalty for an illegal overtake, but if you're in that position, especially with that sort of situation after the fiasco, if you're in that position, in my opinion, take the penalty because it's much safer, and you can just crack on and get it removed after the race. Then Ginger Age has got himself past Kiki as well. Then Kiki getting out of the way. Then he's got some wing damage then on that Racing Bull, and needs to get himself back into the box then to sort that front wing out. Then Mushroom then has lost out. Has he got himself just in that DRS range then of the kick saber of Young Lights? Young Lights has got damage as well. Then it looks like, I think he's lost a right end plate there. Yes, he has. But he's soldiering on out there as Young Lights then, so he's going to try and carry on in this race. Then Kiki is not going to be able to carry on, I don't think, and he's in the pit lane now to sort out his front wing as well. Then as we crack on then onto lap 16, then not quite sure as Dark Shadow picks up a penalty, then the first penalty of the evening on lap 16 then for the Red Bull driver. Then out in front, then Ginner's tyres I think have gone now. There's 2 second gap then between himself and R2B. Then it was of course a pretty heated battle for the first 14 laps or so then, but unfortunately not anymore. Vessia then still in the battle with Favre. Then Mumford has got himself past Mushroom as well. Then with that situation for Mumford, I think he got an illegal overtake then and had to give the place back then, but nonetheless it's done a fair job of giving the place back, which is nice, but again I don't think it was necessary in that case. But there we are then. We don't know exactly because we're only just watching it from the sky and we're not in the cockpit watching the racing going on then from their point of view, but we can just spectate and speculate then on this one. But Vessia then is looking to line up a move then very quickly on Farf, I think, then for the P6 position. Both the Alpines looking pretty strong then on the medium compound tyres now, but when will that start to change then? Will Mumford start to get himself into the fight a bit more? Here comes Vessia then lining up a move then for P6 then into Tarzan corner. Then Mumford a bit too far back then to make a move on Farf as we head into the first turn. There's all sorts of jumping around then. I think that's just the issue then with the lobby. Then justifies past Ginger Age then for P12. Ginger Age I thought almost put the power down a bit too early then and almost went off the circuit then, but he's managed to keep himself under control. And now into the fight then is a Red Bull, a McLaren and a Ferrari then, all lying astern then as we go through onto lap 17 here. Brilliant stuff indeed. Coupe now all over the back of Mumford. Then again the same normal service has resumed here because they're all stuck behind the Alpine once again. Then the blockade just carries on then a bit further up the order this time. But yeah, nonetheless, right then they carry on as we go through into sector 2 now. And Mumford now, I think those medium compound tyres then are definitely not the best tyre to be on anymore. I think the hard compound tyre is definitely in its element here as we go through into sector 3 now, and Mumford is almost pushing far through the chicane here. I think he has tapped the Alpine then through that chicane as well then, but so far so good then. Hello from Kian as well then. Hello as well then to Kian, of course, who was taken to bronze. He took to silver as well then, pretty nicely indeed. I actually did a fantastic job in silver as well then earlier on this week. Then Young Lights in the pit lane, so Young Lights calling it today now on the hard compound tyre. And coming into the pit lane, I think he has wing damage to try and sort out then, because that was the incident between himself and Kiki. Then Kiki has had that Racing Bull serviced and sorted onto a set of hard compound tyres, medium compound tyres going on the kick salver of Young Lights then, and a new front wing being bolted on then to that green machine, and away he goes. But I think it will come out ahead of Kiki then, but unfortunately both those drivers have come a cropper then somewhere at the exit of turn 1 then, and yeah, I'm not sure if it was coming together or if it was just a spin and got collected sort of thing by the driver behind them, but we'll have to figure that out after the Grand Prix. Unfortunately both of them dropped down the order out of the points, but of course have now got himself onto a new set of tyres here as well then. There we go. I think that's Dark Shadow then being lapped by Reflection there. Unfortunately for Dark Shadow, it's not gone his way tonight then, but he's doing a good job of carrying on in this race, as Ginner then is 3 seconds behind our race leader now. Surely will be coming into the pit lane very soon. We have to expect that, but Mumford and Mushroom are battling side by side. My goodness me, I think Mushroom has had his week to fix today, like I said, but he is definitely putting his car about. Let's just put it that way. As now Coop is next to challenge, then as Mumford has dropped down then behind Coop and Mushroom. But yeah, not quite sure what's happened there. Then Justify then and Ginger Rage are battling away then into Tarzan corner. Then Ginger Rage dropping down to P12. Then Ginger Rage is actually in the train here for P6 as it stands in, so he is not too far away. So is Styles as well then. So from P6 down to P13 is covered by not too much then as it stands, but as we go through into sector 2 then, any mistakes then, any issues then between two drivers then could be very costly indeed, then even more costly as well as we head through into the tight and narrow section of the circuit as well, but flying through there very comfortably indeed then. Gina then trying to catch up. I think he's actually got through maybe a grading phase then and has caught up. We brought the gap back down into the 2 seconds, that is, to R2 beat, and so far so good then. Here comes Farf then on the attack then. Can he get himself past his teammate and try and charge on then into the clear air, then into the distance here as we head into sector 3. There's Mushroom going down. Look at Mushroom, he's on his bike tonight then, is Mushroom. Goodness me. And even shape of a move here as oh my goodness, Mushroom is definitely well, he's definitely on it tonight then, let's just put it that way. He is on the charge, let's just put it that way as well then. Goodness me, that he is he's definitely keen to try and make moves as we go into Tarzan corner round the outside then of the Williams of Coop. Then can he hold it this time? Yes, he can. There's contact between the two of them, and Coop has held on to the place then as well then. Goodness me, then Mushroom is lighting up the track here tonight. Then he's doing a great job then, putting his nose in everywhere and putting the battles on the table as well then. But now I think Mushroom's just trying to get the hurry up then from for Coop then as well, to be fair, because he's trying to get the Alpines out of the way of this pack then as well. Then of course, if that is I think if they are released then from the Alpine blockade, let's just say that. But to be fair, the Alpines don't have to jump out of the way. They can do what they're doing right now and putting on a good performance then for the Alpine pair and for the team, that is. But like I said, I think once if Coop and Mushroom can get themselves through, and Mumford as well on the hard compound tyres, I think they will be scampering up the road. Let's just say that then as we go through into sector 3 on lap 21. Then there is almost lap 21 now. We're almost 50 laps to go now. We've been flying through the first 22 laps or so, or 21 laps at the moment, but so far so good. Then here comes Farf then on the back of Vessia, then through into the final corner. There's contact between the two Alpines there onto the main straight as well. Then Cooper's in the pit lane, calling it a day then, as we've got yellow flags I think for Dark Shadow as well. Then unfortunately with Dark Shadow he's having a struggle out there. Justified trying to line up a move then for P9 then on Mumford, who has staved off the attack then from the Ferrari for the time being. Then Ginger Rage up to P11 now. Coop then onto the hard compound tyres and getting out the way then I think of the fighting pack. Then he's called it a day then on those medium compounds. Then Kia then, or Dark Shadow, sorry, just trying to get himself out of the way then of those cars coming through. And unfortunately, like I said, Kiki, Young Lights now, and now Coop then have pitted in this race. Then they are the only drivers who pitted so far then, apart from Dark Shadow for that wing change and for Reflection on the opening couple of laps as well then. Right. Kamara Racers almost got himself into contention then for a podium place as it stands then, looking pretty good indeed. Let's have a look and see once again with this queue, this what is it? There's a train, it's a queue, it's everything really. Stuck behind Farf now then is Mushroom. Then Mushroom has of course been released then by Coop. Then Coop has got himself into the box then to take himself off the medium compound tyres, and I think maybe trying to go for an undercut then on the Alpine pair, and if he can come out ahead of them, of course, when the as Kia's got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, as if he can come out ahead of them, that is, then of course he will have worked that one undercut to a undercut, that is, and looking pretty good indeed. Then Vessia back past Farf. Then I think Dark Shadow onto the soft compound tyres now and trying to go for a fastest lap point potentially as well here. Lap 22 has commenced. Then we've got 50 laps to go. Then at the end of this one, then into turn 3 we go. Then flying through there as Vessia then sorry, not Vessia, so we're R2 beat then holds on to the race lead by 3.3 seconds to Ginner. Then so far, of course, the soft compound tyres have done a pretty good stint so far. far, then 21 laps, or 22 laps at the end of this one then for Ginner. Can he get himself into the, well, is he going to carry on then on the soft compound tyres? Can they hold on for another few laps or two? Or will he just have to abandon that and get himself into the pits then to get himself onto a new set of boots? Then we'll have to wait and see. Kamara Racer's got himself almost into the DRS range then of Equans as well for a podium place. Then that is for Kamara Racer, looking pretty good indeed if he can hold on to it, that is. But now the DRS is open for the Racing Bull as we go down onto the main straight here, and Equans could be in danger then of losing that podium place here as it stands. Farf then and Vessia then battling away side by side then into, not side by side, sorry, but once again then in a conga line then between all of them there down the main straight once again. Then here comes Farf then on the attack then. I don't think he's actually going to go for a move, not shaping for a move then into turn 1 then. Mushroom stays P8 then, Mumford then at P9. Justify P10, then Ginger Age P11, then Hungry Stars P12, Sick as Muck P13. Young Lights has got himself past Coop then, and up into P14. Then Coop has dropped down then to P15. I'm not sure if Coop's had an issue somewhere because I thought he came out ahead quite comfortably then of the kick Sauber then, but unfortunately for Coop then he's had some sort of issues somewhere and has dropped down behind Young Lights now as well then. But these two, of course, were fighting at the top of the field then before whatever went on between Young Lights and Kiki then, and of course between well, Coop decided to pit early, didn't he? So he's decided to call it a day then and come into the box then to put himself on a new fresh set of tyres, which is prerogative. Then he got himself out of the train then, and got himself out of the battling then, and now into a fight then with Young Lights instead. So he's gone straight from one fight to another fight, unfortunately, as it stands. Justify has got himself, no he hasn't got himself past Mumford, and Ginger Age has gone through as well then. So Ginger Age up into P10 then. Kamara Racer has taken, no he hasn't, because Equaz is in the pit lane, so Equaz calling it down on the medium compound tyres now. So that is an interesting call then from the Williams drivers. Anybody else going to come into the pit lane now and call it a day on their tyres as well then? No, Vessia is, but Favre almost followed him in there, you like, but not quite. S-Series Mushroom up into P6, then Mumford up into P7, Ginger Age up into P8 now, Justify P9, Hungry Stars into the top 10, then Equaz coming out of the pit lane now. Where will he be in respect to the rest of the field? He's behind Sick as Muck then, but he's up ahead of Vessia, well Vessia's in the pits as well then, but he's ahead of Young Lights then. Vessia and Young Lights are going to be in a bit of a battle, I think, then when they exit of the pit lane here. Are they? No, not quite. Then Young Lights is ahead, then up into P13, then Vessia out in P14, just ahead of Coop then. But Coop seems to be struggling then on those hard compound tyres because he's lost time to Young Lights there as well somewhere in this lap. Unfortunately then for the Williams driver, then he seems to be having a few issues out there at this stage of the race then, so we'll have to come back to that one and see what's going on there. But nonetheless, we carry on then. Here comes the battle once again then on lap 24 now. This battle has been raging on for 24 laps pretty much as we head into sector 3 once again. Then Serious Rush looking to do his trademark dive bomb, but not quite. And Farf now up into P5 then, but holding up this gaggle of cars now, this train of cars I should say, heading into the final quarter. I think Mushroom is going to be on his case then to try and get himself up into P5 very quickly indeed. Then here he comes then in the McLaren, then flying up to the inside. Then he's got himself up into P5, passing Farf. Mumford then next to try and make a move. Then Justify's got a 10-second pad over speeding in the pit lane. Goodness me, it was all going very well for Justify. Maybe getting some first points of the season, his first full-time appearance as well then, but unfortunately that 10-second pad is going to be very costly indeed, and he's cruising it down out of the pit lane now. He's been passed by Young Lights, and I think he's going to be passed by Vessia and Coop as well then as we come out of the pit lane here. Justify then, there he is on the inside of the track then, coming out, so he's got a bit of a narrower line then. He crosses the line anyway, but nonetheless, but there we are. And Justify comes out in P15 now on a fresh set of medium compound tyres. Okay then, right then, that's that then, so we've sorted that out. Now, where will we see the rest of the fighting going on then? Unfortunately for Coop, then he's come out on the hard compound tyres. He's come out behind Vessia then, which is problematic because Vessia was in this battle then with Farf then, wasn't he as well? As was Mushroom, as was Mumford, as was Ginger Age and everybody else then who's still involved in it. But Coop got himself into the pits early on to try and undercut this battling pack. Then he's come out behind Vessia, who was in that battling pack then, and was ahead of him just about in that stage. And not Serious Mushroom. Ginner is in the pit lane from the soft compound tyres. He's done 25 laps on them onto the hard compound tyres. A bit of a drastic change then from Ginner, and away he goes then. P4 then for the Mercedes, then out ahead of Mushroom by 4 seconds or so. He's going to challenge in of Farf then. Farf is still trying to keep Mushroom honest in this race. Mumford then P7, then Ginger Age P8. Then we've got pit stop action for Styles, then Styles onto the soft compound tyres, which is a pretty interesting call then, but he's going to come out in P16 I think. Then he's going to be passed by no, that's not Kiki. That is who is that? That Dark Shadow, then his teammate. But unfortunately, with Dark Shadow, he's a bit further back than that suggests. As we go into lap 26 here, so far so good. Then Kiana said, "Internet here is an emoji of something that." Yes, there you go. You can picture it. It's an emoji. RGB in the pit lane. Then from the race lead, there is, I think that's a Reflection. That is Reflection. Then also in the pits as well. So Reflection was very close to getting lapped. Then I think. Well, he might still be lapped. Actually, no, Kamara Racers also coming in the pit lane then. But yeah, Reflection is very close to being lapped there, and needs to get his skates on then to avoid that sort of situation. Then he might be lapped now anyway, because Reflection out of the pit lane there is going to be. Where is he? Oh goodness me! It's going to be close indeed between himself and Gordo. 10 second penalty, sorry, for Far for speeding into the pit lane. Goodness me! And into the box he goes. Then he's called it a day. Then on his medium compound tyres, going for another set of medium compound tyres is Far. But unfortunately, that did not help him. Then that 10-second penalty will be added to his race time or his next pit stop time. Where were we? Reflection. Then Reflection has been passed by both the Aston Martins here, and unfortunately, as a lap down now, Mushroom then coming out behind Justify. What's happened to Mushroom then? Mushroom has had an issue somewhere because he's come out behind. He was ahead of Favre, I think. He was ahead of Justify for sure then, but he's come out 3 seconds behind all of them. Unless he got held in the pit lane there, which would be terrible news indeed for the McLaren driver. But unfortunately, I'm not quite sure what's happened then to Mushroom. Then he seems to be have had an issue somewhere and has dropped down to P14 as it stands. There's still pit stops to come then for quite a few in the top 10. So we'll have to wait and see when they call it a day on their tyres as well then. But so far so good then, I should say. Then here comes R2B then trying to line up a move then for P1. He's taking his place past Gordo, then up into P1 once again. Then Gordo, of course, yet to pit in this Grand Prix is P2 then, of course, but Ginner then is only 5 seconds behind. Mumford then has yet to pit. He's up into P4 now, as is Ginger Rage, and he's on old medium compound tyres. 27 laps in on those medium compound tyres for Ginger Rage, and he's in P5 for the time being. Equaz then is on to a fresh set of mediums as well. Then Sickers Muck then is yet to pit in this Grand Prix. Younglight's pitted earlier as well, so he's going to have to get himself back into the correlation then of the rest of the field in terms of the deltas of pit stops, that is. But there we are. Then Vessia, then P10, then Coupe P11 as it stands. Then Half then onto a fresh set of medium compound tyres, P12. Then he's got himself past Justify. Mushroom has dropped down the field, being passed by Styles now. So Mushroom's having a few issues out there and not having a good time. It doesn't look like out in this race, unfortunately for Mushroom. Then there we are then, as Kia's had a bit of a problem in getting himself through turn 4 and 5 then as we go through into the next stint of the race, I should say, for most people. But there we are then as we carry on through then, now lap 28 then of 72. We've almost done 30 laps or so, then that would be pretty good stuff, and pretty good pace indeed as well around here as we get ourselves through this race. RTB sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as well then, as here comes Kamara Racer, who's got himself a bit of challenge now. He's got himself past Sickers Muck, sorry, but Sickers Muck yet to pit in this Grand Prix then on very old hard compound tyres at this stage for the Ferrari. And will he come in the pit lane this time? Not quite. Then he's staying out once again then for Sickers Muck, then onto the main straight. He's got some DRS then from Kamara Racer's car as well, and cruising along through then. Coupe now under pressure from Farf, I should say. He did get the undercut on Farf, but unfortunately it is now not worked out in his favour now as Farf back through then this time and passing the Williams car then. And look who's ahead of us there by just over a second. It's Vessia. So once again the queue behind the Alpines could reform again now, as Coupe Justify are already in the train. Then Hungry Styles then is into P14. Mushroom is I think back underway then. He seems to be holding on to Styles for the time being, at least, and trying to get himself back in contention. And of course Styles on the soft compound tyres is going to be pretty quick indeed, especially in the Red Bull car as well. Reflection is right behind Gordo now as well. Then Gordo yet to pit in this Grand Prix. Reflection now on fresh hard compound tyres, so I think Reflection needs to go for a bit of an overtake here and get himself back up into a net. What is it? A net? Well, not a net P2, but onto almost onto the lead lap once again. Let's just put it that way. Coupe and Justify, sorry, battling away then, and not quite sure what's happened there. Ginger Rage is in the pit lane. Ginger Rage calling it a day now on the medium compound tyres, sorry. And where will he come out now is the question. More medium compound tyres going on. which suggests to me it's going to be a 2-stop then for Ginger Age. He's done medium so far in this race. Then where will he come out then in respect to his teammate? That is coming out of the pit lane now. Then it's going to be tight indeed between Mushroom, Styles and Ginger Age. And around we go then, and Ginger Age has dropped down behind his teammate down to P15, but now on the freshest tyres of the grid as it stands as well. Then lap 30 has commenced here as well. Then almost, I have to keep prefacing it, but we're almost halfway distance now, which is pretty good stuff indeed. It's been very quick indeed so far in this first half. I've probably jinxed it now, but it's been absolutely epic so far in this race, and it's very good indeed because I need to go to bed at some point today as Dark Shadow back in the pit lane to service that Red Bull once again, unfortunately not going his way in this race, but he's doing a fantastic job of soldiering on up there as well. Then 7 seconds the gap then between R2 Beat and Jinner. R2 Beat sets the fastest lap of the race. Then Gordo is coming in the pit lane now to call it a day then on his medium compound tyres. 30 laps completed on the mediums then for the Aston Martin driver then, and he will be in a bit of a fight I think then when he comes out of the pit lane. Where will he be then? He actually might be alright then. He might be behind Young Lights here. It depends how quickly he can get himself back underway then, but he is cruising down out of the pit lane now, and I think yes he will come out ahead of, maybe just ahead of Young Lights actually. No, it's going to be close indeed between the two of them then as we go round the first turn. Then of course Gordon, like I said, has got a narrower line on the pit exit then, but he's filtered in right behind the Kick Sauber as we go into the banked turn then of turn 3 as well. That's just turn 4 really, isn't it? But there we go. So that's my observation skills. Mumford then is up into P3 then, but he's now under pressure from Equaz then, who's on medium compound tyres and fresher tyres to say the least. But of course Mumford then has been soldering on out there on those hard compound tyres, got stuck up behind the Alpines for quite a while as well, and now trying to offset the difference here as well then in this race. So far so good then. Oh dear, Gordo's had a bit of a problem then on the grass then into sector 2. That's cost him a bit of time then has for the Aston Martin. He was going to line up a move I think for the overtake then on the Kick Sauber of Young Lights, but unfortunately that incident or small squirrely movement, let's just put it that way, on the grass slightly for the rear tyres then has unfortunately unsettled the Alpine's attack. Sorry, the Aston Martin's attack now. The Alpine's attack then is going to be resuming once again. Then here comes Equaz then up into P3, then passing Mumford around down the inside, sorry, at Tarzan, and up into the podium places once again then for Equaz. Right, then Gordo then stays P8. Vessia then is staying in front of his teammate Favre once again. Then Coop, I think it's going to be very unhappy to see that both the Alpines are once again right ahead of him here as well, after the difference in strategy, or the offset in strategy then for the Williams driver. But unfortunately I think he made some sort of mistake there, or made a bit of an error somewhere on his outlap then, on his first few laps on the hard compound tyres, maybe pushing a bit too hard on colder tyres, and that has cost him a bit unfortunately, because he had must have had a bit of an upset somewhere, and that has put him back behind the Alpines then after the pit stop phases. Then I think he might have come back ahead of them, to be fair, if oh dear, as Justify's gone on the curb then, and that is very nice drifting indeed from Justify, but unfortunately not the fastest way around the circuit, but there we go then. He's got himself back underway and recovered the composure quickly enough to try and charge on then in the Ferrari. Then Mushroom now has got himself past Styles, and I think has reawoken the beast then for Mushroom. Then he's back underway then into sector 3 and trying to charge on. Then he's now in the well, almost in the points paying range then is Mushroom, sorry, as we've got more battling Alpines once again. Then here we go then onto lap 33, and the Alpines carrying on their fight. And then Gordo's got himself past Young Lights and into P7. Then Vessia looking to defend from his teammate Favre. Oh goodness me, there's contact between the Alpines into Tarzan, and Coop then is lining up a move as well then, as these two, I thought they were going to go side by side through turn 3 and into turn 4 as well then, but not quite. They've thought better of it, which is good stuff indeed. Then Justify and Coop then are stuck up behind the Alpines once again then, and they are on the brink of the points paying positions as it stands then, but there's still pit stops to come from the likes of Sick as Muck, Mumford as well. Then Young Lights I think has got to try and negate the offset as well, then either stay out for a bit longer and try and hold on to the DRS then of Gordo and potentially anybody else that catches up. Then Farf and Vessia have switched places as well here, as Coop trying to get himself in the mix between the Alpine pair as well, then round into sector 3 shortly. So there we go then, on to lap 34 we go then, heading into sector 3 then for P9, P10, P11 and P12 then, very bunched up then, only a second separating them pretty much as we head into the penultimate corner then. Gordo and Sick as Muck then, I think Sick as Muck is coming, no, he's had an issue there as Sick as Muck, I'm not quite sure what's happened then to the Ferrari driver. and he's slowed he's slowed down quite a lot, let's just put it that way. Into the pits now for Sickers Muck, sorry, dropping down the order unfortunately then for Sickers Muck as well. He's got wing damage there, that is why, and he's not changed the front wing then on a Ferrari car either unfortunately. Then that is him going to have to make another pit stop then to sort that front wing out then unfortunately for Sickers Muck then, not going his way here tonight then at this stage of the race. Now we're only halfway through. Well, not even halfway through, let's just say that, but we're almost at the halfway point. Mumford then is trying to get himself into a good window then, I think, to try and get himself onto a set of medium compound tyres to go to the end of the race from here, potentially do a one stop. We'll have to wait and see. It would be quite a stint indeed, and on both stints that is, but we've seen the medium compound tyres. Oh dear, Mumford, it's not going to help Mumford at all then, as look, he's just lagged back onto the circuit then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Right then, yes, so we've seen Mumford then, so we've seen the medium compound tyres do about, what was it, 27, 28 laps, then almost 30 laps in some cases. So if he can do another 6 or 7 laps then for Mumford on the hard compound tyres, he could potentially go to the medium compound tyre as well for the latter stages of the race. Out in the Alpine and Williams and Ferrari battle, we've had a bit of a mistake then, I think, from Vessia, because Vessia has now lost quite a lot of time then to Favre. As we head down the main straight, here comes Coop then on the attack. Then can he make a move then down the inside at turn 1? Not quite then, but justified. Goodness me, he's one in the back then of the Williams car. And yes, it's getting a bit, yes, I think so. Right then, Hungry Styles is almost caught up with the fight then, as has Serious Mushroom, as has Ginger Rage as well then. So once again then from P8 then down to P14 is, as Dark Shadow is off the circuit again then. Had a problem then. He's gone into the wall once again then at the same straight, I think, that he went into the wall previously. Oh dear. So yes, hopefully he can get himself back underway and back racing again then, as yeah, unfortunately he's not having a great time out there in the Red Bull car, but he's back underway now, thankfully. At least then, that is the main thing. Mumford, sorry, is trying to stay with the with Williams of Equalizer, but unfortunately I think those hard compound tyres, oh no, stay within DRS range somehow. The chicane and both the McLarens have gone through then, and unfortunately for Styles, not sure what happened to him there, but he's back underway quickly enough then. But unfortunately he's had some sort of a he's gone on the grass there as well then, but he's having some sort of issues then. His Styles then back underway then quickly enough for the Red Bull car then. Good stuff indeed then. Kamara Racer has got himself into a fight now with Mumford for P4. Of course, Kamara Racer has pitted for a fresher, well, not a fresh set of medium compound tyres anymore. They're 9 laps old now, but they are definitely a lot fresher than Mumford's 35 lap old hard compound tyres. So I think it will be not too difficult then for Sickers Muck is back in the pit lane. I think Sickers Muck then has realised that he didn't change the front wing then on his previous pit stop. Now he's into the box then to change that front wing here and get himself sorted then onto a fresh front wing, fresh set of boots as well then. Unfortunately, he's been lapped now by RTB. Then RTB's gone through into Tarzan corner. Then he is ahead now of the Ferrari. Then it's coming out the pit lane now. He'll be ahead of Reflection as well. Then for Sickers Muck, but he's onto a set of soft compound tyres and back underway. Hungry Styles, like I said, have that. Oh dear, he's having a fight now with his teammate, it looks like, so I'm not quite sure what's going on between those two. But there we are then. Ginger Rage and Kamara Racer has got himself passed into P4 now, up ahead of Mumford. Mumford gets to pit in this race, of course, but I think is looking to extend then to a reasonable window where he can pit then for the medium compound tyres and go to the end of the race from here. 35 laps to go then in this Grand Prix. We're past the halfway distance now very comfortably, but we've still got quite a few laps to go in this Grand Prix as well then. So there's yeah, it's all up in the air as it stands at the moment. But so far so good then for the 18 drivers then taking the track then. Unfortunately, Dark Shadow, it's just been a very difficult race out there, but he's soldiering on very well indeed. Yeah, unfortunately it's just not gone his way then in the opening few laps then, and that has set the precedent then for the rest of the Grand Prix, unfortunately, because like I said, once it starts to go bad, it usually starts to go even worse, doesn't it, as well in racing in general, that is, not just in just Grand Prix racing. Yeah, unfortunately that is the way it goes, the way the wind blows then in racing itself. That is why we love it as well then, because it's up and down, it's all over the place especially in F1 racing, and even so in real life then after that horrible 2023 season, it's definitely chirped up a bit in the 2024 season as well then. Vessia Justify giving a little nudge then to Coop then to hurry him up and then into the final couple of quarters onto lap 38 now as well then. And there is the Williams car then. Can he get himself through? Can he get himself past one Alpine as he goes for a move. Not quite know he thinks about it, but he doesn't quite go for the move then into Tarzan corner. Then can he get himself past one Alpine? Because that will just give him a breather then and help him at least try and challenge for the next Alpine, that is. Because I've got past one of them, the blockade starts to weaken, doesn't it, as we go through into Sector 2 now, and also very shortly into Sector 2, I should say then, but unfortunately it doesn't look like that's the case just yet. Then Vessia's still holding on, and Vessia then is on 3 lap older tyres than his teammate Farf then, so potentially we will hit the cliff then before Farf does, but you might see that is why he's starting to struggle at this stage of the race, then potentially going for a bit of a graining phase potentially. We'll have to wait and see, but it looks like we've seen the medium compound tyres do much longer than this on the 14 lap stint then, so we'll have to wait and see what Vessia is going to call it then, when he's going to call it then, I should say, then on his tyres, but I don't think it's going to be any time soon just yet then, as we go through then on to lap 39 now. Young Lights then is a bit of a no man's land in terms of where his position is, that is, and also in terms of the strategy then. He's a bit out of kilter then with the rest of the field, having pitted earlier then for that wing damage, but here comes Coop then on the attack then. This time can Coop mount a charge? Not quite, he's a bit too far back still unfortunately, and yes, it seems like it's going to be a bit of a I think a few people are going to be just frustrated and being stuck behind the Alpines for so long in this race. But to be fair, like I said, for Vessia and for Farf, they are doing exactly what they need to be doing and to score some points then in this race. And that is just cruising to the finish line. Making sure you get to the finish line is the most important thing. And unfortunately, if you're stuck behind them, that is your own problem then, isn't it? But no, it's fair play. There's no blue flags or anything fluttering for the Alpine drivers. They can hold position, they can fight for position, and they have done a good job so far. And they're both of them in the points paying positions as well then. P8 and P9 respectively as it stands, but of course there is still quite a few laps to go then that could change that order as well. Then we'll have to wait and see. Coop seems to be struggling then through Sector 2 then, because Justify all over the back of him once again then as we go down towards Sector 3. My God, I thought he was going to go for a late lunge there, but I don't think that would have paid off very well then, as we got more action at the top of the field. Then Equaz has been passed by Kamara Racer, then Kamara up into P3, then into the podium places now for the Austrian driver, and looking good indeed on the return to form then, after taking the last 2 weeks off then for a very well-deserved holiday as well then. So good stuff indeed from Kamara. Up into the podium places now as it stands then, and yes, there we go then. Serious Russian has passed Justify, has he? Oh goodness me, around the down the inside, sorry, at Tarzan. Is up into P11 now, I think. Yes, he is. Back underway now for the McLaren then. Good stuff indeed then. But once again then, I think we had this in the first stint, didn't we? We had a roles reversed then behind the 2 Alpines, and who's going to challenge next then, and who can push their way through then, but unfortunately none of them could. So we had, I think, 3 or 4 different challenges trying to get themselves past the Alpine drivers, and none of them could make it through then. But we'll have to wait and see then if this could be the chance. Now this could be the time now with Coop and Mushroom and Justify and Ginger Rage. Now Styles unfortunately has dropped off then on the soft compound tyres, maybe getting towards the end of their best life now. After we saw Ginger do quite a few more laps though, but I think they were quite out of their best performance. Let's put it that way. As Mushroom, sorry, goes down the inside then at Sector 3. Then has he got the move held? Then yes, he has done a great job indeed. Then from Mushroom up into P10 and flying through. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Then oh dear, I think Vessia's had a problem then out of the final couple of corners, and this could open the door for Mushroom as well now, but he's lost out then. I think the straight line speed then for the Alpine then looking pretty strong here, but here he comes then, Mushroom on the attack and down the inside. Is he going to go down the inside? No, not quite. He thinks better of it, then into Tarzan corner. Then he stays behind the Alpines once again then, and this is where we see where we saw status quo from the first stint then, because we've just got the pretty much the same order almost. Oh dear, as Coop's gone in the back of Mushroom there. And I thought we saw a bit of wing fly off then, but I think his wing's intact then, it looks like. Goodness me. It's not what you need, especially on those hard compound tyres. And I think you probably can go from the mid to the mediums then from this point, potentially get yourself to the end of the Grand Prix. Would be a bit of a stretch though, but yes, this is where we're getting into the towards the final stints then, I think. We will be in the next few laps or so then, potentially lining up moves then for a new set of mediums then to the end of the Grand Prix. The likes of Mumford might be looking at that very shortly. Dark Shadow's got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane again. Unfortunately for Dark Shadow, it's just not been his race tonight then, but fair play, he is still soldiering on out there as well then, and putting on a performance at least then to get himself to the checkered flag. That is the most important thing in this Grand Prix and in Grand Prix racing as a whole. And here comes Mushroom then. Mushroom now all over the back of that diffuser as we go through the very bumpy banked corner then of the final couple of turns then. 30 laps remaining in this Grand Prix. Can Mushroom get himself through? Not quite then, and Vessia holds on to P9 now. Still, because there's been quite a few laps of this, and Mushroom, I think, is going to be maybe trying to lining up one of his trademark dive bombs then into Sector 3, as we've seen before then from Mushroom. But I think he's getting ever closer. Then they're all getting ever closer then to the Alpine pair then, and of course Vessia is closed in on Farf as well then. So Vessia then trying to gain as much, trying to group up as much as possible then in this stint as well. Then Mushroom then is all over the back of him. Look at him go. He's almost pushing the Alpine pair then through the sectors now, as we get ourselves into the final third then of this Grand Prix in the next few laps or so. Then yellow flags, I think that's for Kia then, just getting out of the way then of the of this this queue of this train, then trying to get themselves into the points paying positions then, and further up in the points paying positions as well then, let's just say that. But yes, there we go then into the final couple of corners. This is where Vessia struggles now, and this is where Mushroom then, who does capitalise, but then back onto the straight, then Vessia seems to boot himself out of that straight then very quickly indeed. Then more yellow flags, and I think for it's for Kia, I think, then having an issue then at the back to the final turn, then into Tarzan we go then, and it stays the same. Then Justify has been passed by Ginger Age, Ginger Age up into P12 now, but again, like I said, it seems to be just 10 seconds again then for Dark Shadow, and he has retired in the pit lane this time. But yes, Ginger Age then is, like I said, battle with Mumford has got himself in a battle with Gordo as well here, and Mumford then of course yet to stop in this race. Then he's done 42 laps on the hard compound tyres. What a stint indeed then from Mumford. Absolutely brilliant stuff indeed. But I'm not sure if it's going to work out in his favour. Then we'll have to wait and see. The Nequaz still in a fight then with Kamara Racer, as once again Young Lights then still in a bit of no man's land, and of course with the offset strategy as well then. But doing a good job actually, to be fair, of just having a nice steady race. I think he's the only one who's having a very quiet race out there, as it looks like. The same actually you can't be said for the race leader for R2B. He's got a 19-second lead out there, but again we'll come back to him because he's done a fantastic job so far in this Grand Prix. Gordo has got himself past Mumford up into P5 then, with some DRS then, of course the fresher tyres to go with that as well. Then back to this battle here then. Here comes Mushroom, then he's a 10th behind, but it comes up to 2 tenths now. Here comes Mushroom on the attack then this time. Then can he get himself past the Farf? Then it looks like Farf's been gone a bit vulnerable then into turn 1. Then Vessia's gone through, but Mushroom couldn't get himself through there, and Ginger Age has gone through up into P11. Ginger Age has taken no prisoners here. He's gone for it now, as Ginger Age is like, I'm going to put the hammer down now. It's hammer time for Ginger Age. Then he's getting ragey and angry in that cockpit now. That pink helmet is trembling, he's throbbing with all sorts of different things going on in there. But here we are then. Ginger Age now on a mission. Can he get himself past the Alpines? He's called it a day, I think. Then he's had enough of Coupe. Then he's had enough of Justify. He's got himself past both of them. Then he's going to have to pass his teammate then and the other 2 Alpines to get himself up into P8 here in this Grand Prix now. But he's now decided that it's time to charge then for Ginger Age, and away he goes, as both the McLarens now looking to try and jump both the Alpines in this next phase of the race as well now. Brilliant stuff. Oh my god, there's contact there. There's contact, and Ginger Age has been spun around. Oh dear, he's not going to be happy about that one, let's just say. And I think Coupe then was the culprit, and Ginger Age has been gone back through then, and Coupe then has led him back through, I think, there as well. But I'm not sure. Well, it's not going to be in his Christmas card list, unfortunately, now, Coupe. So yes, there we go. Cooper's coming in the pit lane now. He's calling it today then on the hard compound tyres here. Into the box now for the Williams car then. A bit of an early stop then. I think, like I said, you can go from the medium compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix from here. What have you got to do then? You've got to do about 27 laps then, which we've seen has been done before. Coupe is, I think, serving a penalty. What is happening there to Coupe then? We do not know. Yes, he seems to be serving a penalty there. I'm not quite sure if he had a 10-second. It seemed to be well, not quite. There was no penalty for the collision, I don't think there was there. I'm not quite sure. My goodness me. R2B will be pit stop ahead of Ginner soon, says Big Al. Then seen so many races online, it just doesn't work. Hard tyre is not right. Oh, sorry, he's talking about the hard compound tyre. Hard compound tyre is not the right tyre for this track, then, says Big Al. Then, and to be fair, are you right? Then I'm not quite sure. If Mumford has started, he did start in P4. He's currently P6, so of course he has yet to stop then. But he will be pretty quick then on the new tyres whenever he does choose to pit. He will lose out a few places though as well. Yes, we'll wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But now we've got some more action here between the McLarens, or one McLaren now, and the Alpines. as we go through into Tarzan, and once again then no moves being made between the three of them. Then Justify's dropped off the back by almost 3 seconds there. Ginger Ray's trying to get himself back in contention as well now, almost into the DRS back of the on the back of the Ferrari, I should say then, and back underway then. Hungry Styles, the yellow flags for an Aston Martin. It's R2 beat then the race leader then, and Big Al was just I think Big Al and me and Big Al have just commentated cursed R2 beat there, but he's not lost any time to Jenna though. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, unless the Delta's not sorted itself out because it's so far away then. But R2 definitely had an issue then, didn't he? Oh, there it has. It has sorted itself out now. 13 seconds now. So Big Al then, I think both of us have just commentated cursed R2 then he had a spin. He didn't lose the lead. He's still got a 13-second lead then, which is quite comfortable indeed. But of course then that issue then has been slightly costly then for the we've got more problems then for Kiki off the circuit then. Trying to get himself back underway now, and unfortunately not having a great time out there as well then. Same as Reflection as well then, who's been passed by Gordo in P5. Sorry, I'm trying to gain my breath back. 25 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Aircraft still challenging for that final podium place now. With R2 beat spin, he has well, he's not cost himself anything really, but he has cost himself a pit stop gap then to Jinnah, which Big Al was just commenting on as well then. But unfortunately, that was the situation that well, both myself and Big Al have cursed R2 beat then that stage of the race then. But fingers crossed he can carry on and get into the race then without any more issues. R2 beat then, sorry, not R2 beat, Farf, Vessia and Mushroom then carrying on their fight then. Ginger Rage is now on to the back of Justify, and they're both catching the three ahead of them as well then. So it is going to get spicy once again then between P8 then and P12. Hungry Styles then is just I think he's done 21 laps on the soft compound tyres. Then it's getting towards the end of their best life now. Kiki also in the pit lane here as well. And can he call it a day then on the hard compound tyres now, get to the end on a set of mediums potentially here as well. Then we'll wait and see. Right then, R2 beat then has got himself past that Ferrari. I think that might be just sick as muck actually there. Yes, it's sick as muck. So Kiki out of the pit lane now, a fresh set of medium compound tyres then to the end of the Grand Prix. Reflection just going through Tarzan there as well, ahead of us as well. So that is he's got himself a challenger then in his sights then. Good stuff indeed. Here comes Vessia then on Farf then up into P8 then, and here comes Mushroom then, not close enough I should say, goodness me, to make the move then. Ginger Rage made the move then down the inside at Tarzan up into P11, back up into P11 I should say then. He's got a 2-second gap to his teammate then, who is in the top 10, and Ginger Rage could be smelling some more points here potentially. Then we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the race will unfold. But Ginger Rage now on a bit of a mission once again then. Can he get himself a mission then to get himself into the top 10? And of course he was he bullied his way past Justify previously, and once again now, but also bullied his way past Coop then, and got himself into contention with Mushroom. They are looking like a double Alpine overtake, double McLaren pincer movement on the Alpines potentially there, but unfortunately he got tagged from Coop then. I think Coop is now out of the Christmas list, out of the Christmas card list then. So unfortunately for Coop then, he has pitted there as Coop and let Ginger Rage back through for a new set of medium compound tyres. I think Coop can go to the end of the Grand Prix from here. I think actually Coop is the only man who can go to the end of the Grand Prix from here, apart from Kiki of course as well. Mumford has finally called it a day then. 49 laps I think it is, or 48 laps then from Mumford on the hard compound tyre, and I think he's going to be very glad to get rid of these tyres now. Medium compound tyres going on then. He's being passed by everybody, and there we go. Then Styles is also in the pit lane as well. So Mumford coming out in P12. Where will he be in terms of delta, that is, but he's going to be about 7 or 8 seconds away from the top 10, I think, at this stage potentially. Then we'll have to wait and see exactly, but yeah, it's going to be a bit of it. Well, I think he can do it for sure, but we'll have to wait and see now. Of course, there's going to be stops for the drivers around him as well, and so Mumford could be back in the points very quickly indeed. It just about depends on exactly where he will be, potentially in the battle with Young Lights, who's done 31 laps on his medium compound tyres. That is a brilliant stint indeed then from Young Lights. I think maybe trying to get himself to a window where he can put these soft compound tyres on to the end of the Grand Prix. We will have to wait and see, but brilliant stuff indeed from Young Lights, and soldiering on out there as well. Equaz still in the fight then for the podium places, being brought, or dragged along almost by the Racing Bull of Kamara Racer. He's got himself into the podium places now, and trying to get himself into contention potentially with Jinner as well then. Jinner is only 3 seconds up the road then from the Racing Bull then, and the Williams of course. Around the final quarter then for the Alpines and the McLarens now as well then. Once again these McLarens resuming their battling. Justify into the box then, calling it a day then on the medium compound tyres, and Favre has been passed by his teammate Vessier. As we go into Tarzan corner, there's contact between the Alpine cars as well then. Goodness me, they're not no love lost then. They're going to go side by side through turn 3 and into turn 4, and the McLarens must be loving this because they've just caught up to the back of the pack. They've cruised up to the back of the pack now, and didn't have to worry about anything really. They could just they can see both of them have caught up. Ginger Age has done a brilliant job actually of flying through the field and catching up as well. And soft compact tyres going on the Ferrari of Justify. He's coming out behind Coupe there, and potentially he'll be behind Sicker's lap as well then. No, he won't be. He'll be alright then. R2 Beat though will be lapping him I think very shortly. No, he won't then. R2 Beat has not lapped the Justify on soft compact tyres. I think will be able to breeze away then in the Ferrari on those fresh softs as well then, so long as he doesn't make any mistakes like going wide at the top of the turn there. But there we are, because of course R2 Beat is on much older medium compound tyres then. Into the pits for Kamara Racer then as well, calling it a day then on the medium compound for the Racing Bull, and soft compound going on the Racing Bull as well then. Away he goes then. Where will he come out then? He'll be behind Young Lights, but I think ahead of Favre. Yes, he will. Right then, here comes the battling pack as well then. There's an orange and a pink and blue blur going down the main straight, whatever you want to call that. But there we go then. Vessier holds on to P7 this time, fast down to P8. Serious Mushroom P9 then. He's waiting the wings now. Is Serious Mushroom. Oh my god, then he's gone into the back of Favre. And yes, that's, well, I don't know if there's any damage then from Mushroom, but he's lost out to his teammate of Ginger Rage now. Ginger Rage's turn to line up a move then on the Alpine cars. Then this is his first time challenging the Alpines. Then, of course, he's been right behind the likes of Mushroom, the likes of Mumford, the likes of Coupe, who have been putting the pressure on the blue and pink machines. But this is Ginger Age's time to try and shine. Then can he get himself through? Can he force their hand and get the orange ahead of the Alpine pink and blue? We'll wait and see. It's not orange, it's papaya actually. But there we go. Equaz into the pits as well then. So Equaz calling it a day then on the mediums of the lap after Kamara Racer then. So can Kamara get an undercut here and maybe try and extend the gap then to Equaz and get himself out of danger then of the Williams car then? We'll have to wait and see. Then into the pits comes Young Lights then. He's calling it a day then on his 33 lap old medium compound tyres. Then Equaz has lost out quite drastically actually to Kamara Racer as well then. That one extra lap then for Kamara has got himself a sizable gap then over the Williams car then as we go on to lap 52. Then 20 laps remain of this Grand Prix. Medium compound tyres going on Young Lights' car, then soft compound tyres going on Ginger Rage's car as well. So we've had some more pit stops then. Hungry Styles will come out then behind Ginger Rage, and he's going to be P12 then Coupe P13. Justify is facing the wrong way there, and that is definitely a problem for Justify. You can't point that direction then on that part of the circuit then, and he's had a big issue then as Justify coming round that final corner. Then he's going to have to pit then to sort out that front wing for sure, and he is going in the box now as well. Unfortunately, Justify is going very well indeed actually on his first full-time appearance then for Justify, but he's going to have to sort that front wing out now and get that rectified then. R2 Beat into the pits. Hard compound tyres going on the Aston Martin. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, and Big Al will be very upset with that as well, I think, because he doesn't think that the hard compound tyres are the best to use around this circuit then. Unfortunately with Justify then, it was going so well then, he was in the points momentarily, then he was battling then with Favre, with Ginger Rage and Vessier and Serious Mushroom and all of those drivers as well then for the final points paying positions at one point, but unfortunately has dropped down the order then. Vessier is in the pits as well now. Vessier calling it a day on his tyres as well. Then Mumford up into P8 then, of course he's pitted 4 laps to go on to a fresh set of mediums then to the end of the Grand Prix, and trying to challenge now Serious Mushroom and Favre very shortly as well. Then Young Lights goes ahead of Vessier then. Soft compound tyres gone on the Alpine. Then where will Ginger Rage come out then? Can he get an undercut on the Alpine of Vessier? Then can he get himself ahead then of the blue and pink machine? Then yes he can then. And Ginger Rage, like I said, the undercut that is working around this circuit. He's got a very sizable undercut as well then of almost 1.5 seconds there it looks like, coming out of the 4th turn. Then I thought unfortunately for Ginger Rage, you can't do the 4th turn very well, so Vessier has gained quite a bit on him there. But nonetheless, but Ginger Rage then doing a good job then. He's now into the points paying same positions now, but Vessia has been jumped then by the McLarens with that undercut then. So can Ginger Age relay that information to Mushroom, and potentially Mushroom go for an undercut on Favre here? We'll have to wait and see. Well, if that's going to be the case, maybe it'll be roles reversed then, and Favre pits first. Favre pits earlier than Mushroom. We'll have to wait and see then as we go through onto lap 54 now as well. Then Mushroom then has got the DRS open. Then is he going to go for a move then into the pits? No, Favre stays out then, as does Mushroom as well then, and they're going to go down towards turn 1, and Mushroom has got himself up into P6. Has he? Yes, he has. And Favre drives into the back of him, which is fantastic, which is what you can't do. There's a car there already. You can't drive into it. You have to go around it somehow. Or if you can't go around it, you have to stay behind it. That is the rules. So there we are then. Ginger Age up into P10 then. We've got 2 lap old soft compound tyres. We've got exactly, what have we got, 18 laps to go, so about 20 laps then on the soft compound tyres or so for Ginger Age, would be doable indeed. Especially with the lighter fuel loads going through the cars now as well. Lap 54 then of 72. Then we've flown through this race at very graceful pace indeed then. So brilliant stuff indeed. Mushroom then has got himself past Favre then into P6 then, but Favre staying with the McLaren, sorry. Vessia and Ginger Age and the other McLaren and Alpine pair are fighting still side by side, almost then with DRS then in DRS range between the two of them, I should say, as we go through onto lap 55 now. Then the race leader then is now Jinner, but Jinner is yet to pit from the hard compound tyres. Then R2B is onto a fresh set of hard compound tyres. He's got 27 lap younger tyres than Jinner, and he's only 2.7 seconds behind at this stage as well then. Favre diving in the pit lane now, calling it a day on the medium compound tyres, as relinquished Mumford and Young Lights as well then, and potentially Ginger Age and his teammate Vessia then, as we go through onto lap 55 for these two as well then. I think Vessia then is going to line up a move very quickly indeed on Ginger Age, and he sets the fastest lap of the race as well then for the Alpine, as we go down the inside then into Tarzan Corner. And where is Favre then? Favre is still being serviced then, so he's had a very, very slow stop then as Favre, and my goodness me, he's had a very, very slow stop indeed. Did he have a 10-second penalty to serve? I'm not quite sure, but yes, nonetheless, it's not worked out very well for Favre then. He has dropped down to P13, but he's back underway very quickly indeed, and he's ahead of Sick as Muck just about. Then Sick as Muck's done 20 laps on the soft compound tyres already, so he's going to have to, I think, try and think about calling that a day very shortly indeed as well then. Serious Mushroom is still soldiering on out there. He's not coming in the pit lane just yet then. In terms of the other McLaren, then I think that means he'll come out in the range where we've got an issue for Styles then off the circuit in Sector 2. Then he's back underway now, but yeah, like I said, I think he might Mushroom might come out in the range then of Favre's position rather than Ginger Age's position here, but we'll have to wait and see. Then into the pits he comes now, and Mumford once again then relinquished then into P6 this time. Young Lights then up into P7 as well now. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then Serious Mushroom, then soft compound tyres going on the McLaren, and away he goes. He will be behind, I think he'll be behind Ginger Age then and Vessia. We go into turn 1 for these two. Mushroom coming out of the pit lane now then is behind those two, but ahead of Coop then I think just about, as we cruise round the first turn then, and I think that's Mushroom's pit stop's done for the day. He is now onto a set of soft compound tyres and back underway then. Styles in the pits as well then, so Styles has had an issue somewhere because he's now, has he got a wing change? There's no wing change going on, he's just pitted, so never mind. Okay, I'm not quite sure what the Styles' race is doing. He was in P12 at that point, and he's only on set like 6 lap old medium compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. Is definitely doable. Not quite sure what the needle or the pit stop was there for Styles there, unfortunately. More pit stop action this time. Gordo into the pit lane, 26 laps in on his medium compound tyres, sorry. Camaro and Equaz will go through. Oh my goodness me, there's ghost cars all over the place here as well. I'm not quite sure what is going on there. But okay, fair enough. I suppose. Justify, I think it is, trying to get himself past Equaz, and Equaz is on on soft compound tyres as well then, so I think Justify needs to just justly sit still then where he is then, unfortunately. Although it will be very difficult for him to do that because he wants to race on then, doesn't he? Of course, every racer is trying to race as fast as possible, but of course he has been lapped now by Equaz and needs to relinquish the position. Then R2 Beat then has got a Jenner's got a 1.3 second gap then to R2 Beat, and trying to hold on to the race lead for the time being. Then unfortunately he's got 15 laps to go then still in this Grand Prix. I don't think it will be doable then, unfortunately for him. Then Sick as Muck also in the pit lane, calling it day on his soft compound tyres. Right then, is Jenner going to come in the pit lane now? Yellow flags for Hungry Styles again then, so unfortunately for Styles he's had another issue somewhere. Jenner then not in the pit lane just yet. Sick as Muck coming out of the pits now. Where will he be in respect to the rest of the order? Then he'll be ahead of Kiki, I think, as we go on to the main straight then just about. He's got very slow out of the pit lane there, unfortunately for Sick as Muck, so he might be behind Kiki now, as Kiki then is cruising through. Yes, he is cruising through and up into. He seems to be ghosted then, so never mind. They're ghosting because I think there's a racing ball of Kamara Racer then. Kamara Racer in P3 then is right behind these pair here as well. So they're ghosting because they're being lapped. Although I'm not quite sure if Sick as Muck has realised he's being lapped there. But nonetheless, there we go then. Ginger Age is up into P9, then P8, passing Vessia then into turn 1. And Mushroom is 7 seconds back then. What has happened here? Because I think there must be some sort of calamities going on, because Mushroom and Farf were ahead of Vessia and Ginger Age before the stops even, and now they've come out 6.5 seconds, 8 seconds behind. It doesn't make sense to me, unless they had, as Cooper's picked and quit, unfortunately for Coop. That is him done and dusted in this race, which is a shame for Coop then, unfortunately, but there we are. Yeah, there we go, another one out of the Grand Prix then, so fair enough. Well, yeah, my point of view is, yeah, I have to commentate on however many there is still racing in this race, but there we go. At least I can go to the end of the Grand Prix. Vessia, not Vessia, R2 Beat and Gina then are switching places all over the place as well. Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race, then good stuff from Gordo. Then he's done a 11.777, and as we go through into the next corner as well, then Young Lights and Mumford then are switching places. Then Young Lights up into P6 now, ahead of Mumford, and these two then I think are in their own battle as well. Then Ginger Age is back past Vessia then for P8 as well. Then Serious Mushroom then is on fresher tyres, but he's got quite a bit of work to do to try and get himself back into contention with Vessia and Ginger Age. But we'll have to wait and see then towards the end of the race, and if that is possible. R2 Beat then is being held up a bit by Jinner, I think then, but I don't think he has to worry too much, because he can just, I think he's just probably going to cruise by then in the next lap or two then, really, for R2 Beat. Then he's just sitting behind and patiently just memorising the back of that Mercedes, should he ever need to draw it in real life before, or again, I should say, but there we are. As we go then into Tarzan corner once again then, and round the outside there's contact between the two of them then, but again I don't think Gino needed to fight that really, because he was going to be overtaken by the R2B, by the Aston Martin, I think in the next lap or two anyway, because the tyre delta is just so significant. Then as Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race, I think he just got it again then, didn't he? He did 11.6 then for Gordo, then puts himself in P5 with the fastest lap point as it stands. Mumford then is all over the back of Young Lights then as we go on to lap 60 then of 72, then 12 laps remain in this Grand Prix as we cruise through. Then Kiki then is still all over the back of Sick as Muck then, but Sick as Muck has been lapped now by Kamara Racer. Then Vessia has got himself past Ginger Rage and into Tarzan corner, then back up into P8 now for Vessia as we go through into the dying embers now of this Grand Prix. It's been a pretty frantic and fast-paced Grand Prix indeed, but yeah, it's been quite interesting as well to be watching the Alpines and the McLaren, and of course all the other battles going on as well, to be fair, everywhere else. But everything's, I think, calming down a bit now in the final stint now, the final stages of this race, before it all heats up again in the last few laps, I imagine. But that is just the nature of Grand Prix racing, isn't it? So there we go. Right then. There is a Red Bull then of Styles then, who is right in the way then of Mumford as we go through into sector 3. Mumford has got himself past as well then, and now we cruise on to lap 61 now. So there is 12 laps remaining. Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race again then. So Gordo is flying out there now on the soft compound tyres. Can he catch up to Equaz then? He's got a 3.8 second gap then, and 5 lap fresher tyres as well. Then we'll have to wait and see then if that's possible then for Gordo. Through the final turn then for Ginger Rage then. Can he line up a move then on Vessia then for P? Well, he's just lifted off there. So maybe he's got some fuel issues as well then. I can't see the fuel issues, can I? But yeah, maybe he's got some fuel issues there as well. There's yellow flags for an Aston Martin, I think there. It wasn't Reflection. It was might have been R2B then. I'm not quite sure, or Gordo. But nonetheless, we'll yes, okay. Right then, fair enough. Gino then is still going then on his hard compound tyres. Gino's got just under an 8-second gap then to Kamara Racer. Then he's got well, he's not got 10. He's got 11 laps to go now with RTB starting off lap 62. He's got 11 laps to go. Then can he hold on to P2? Do we reckon then and get to the end of the race then, which will put him on, what is that, a 47 lap old hard, so 47 laps on the hards, I should say. Goodness me, trying to get that out. I'm very tired already then, it seems like, but we're only on lap 62 and 72. I've still got another 10 to go after this one. But Gino, I think, trying to get himself to the end of the Grand Prix on those hard compound tyres. Will Kamara Racer need to get himself put his foot down a bit more then to try and catch up then to Gino before he realises that it's too late then in this race. Mumford then holding on to the back of the Kick Sauber of Young Lights. Then Ginger Rage couldn't get himself back past Vessia then into P8 then on this occasion. Then Styles just letting the drivers go through once again. Then yellow flags. Yeah, it's for Styles then as well once again, unfortunately for Styles. Then he's having it was going all right, and then he had a spin when he was P12, went down to P14 and decided to call it a day and come in the pit lane. Then so it was not a yeah, bit of an odd call that, let's just say that, but there we go. Kiki's off the circuit, that's why Reflection's gone through. Then Reflection is up into P14, then fair play to Reflection for soldiering on in this Grand Prix as well. He's doing the same sort of thing as Ginner, I think. Then he's just soldiering on out there on the Ginger Age has had a problem then. Ginger Age has lost out then to Vessia. Then he's dropped down 2.7 seconds. And unfortunately for Ginger Age, that is going to be costly indeed then. Because I think Mushroom on the fresher soft compound tyres could be in contention for stealing away that P9 position then from the McLaren driver then very shortly indeed as well then. Unfortunately that is for, well, it depends what the McLaren orders are then, if there's going to be some papaya rules then or not. But there we are then, Kiki back in the pit lane. And a 10-second penalty as well to go with it as well then for Kiki, unfortunately for him. But I don't think he's going to be that worried about that. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, there we go then. Unfortunately, it's not gone Kiki's way as well. Then same for Styles, the same for Reflection, and for Coop and Dark Shadow. Then they've not been able to get themselves comfortably to the end of the Grand Prix. Then, or as comfortably to the end of the Grand Prix as they would have liked. Let's just put it that way then. But Kiki now onto a fresh set of soft compound tyres and back underway. Good stuff. Right then. 6.5 seconds the gap then between Kamara Racer and Sick as Muck. Not Sick as Muck, that's Sick as Muck just getting in the way there. So I'm not quite sure what is going on here, to be honest, but there we are. So Kamara Racer's got some DRS then to play with then as we go through onto lap 64. Like I said, the gap now 6 seconds between Kamara and Ginner then. I think those old hard compound tyres are going to start to struggle then for Ginner in the latter stages of this race for sure. As now Kamara then has got himself into the range then of potentially getting himself a P2 in this Grand Prix as well then, which would be a fantastic result indeed for the Racing Bull driver, and I think the best result for a Racing Bull driver then in this season as well then, to be fair. We'll have to wait and see that is, but I'm not quite sure. We'll have to calculate to that as well then, but we'll find out then after the race for sure. But I will have to just put my finger in the air and hope for this point in time. But so far so good. And then Kamara Racer then bringing that gap down now 5.5 seconds. He's gained a half a second then on this first sector and a half or so on this lap as well then. So it could be about a second a lap then, which will put him in range then of making the overtake in the next lap 66, lap 68, 69, giggity sort of range. Right then, yeah, gap flying down now for Kamara Racer then. Unfortunately for Ginner then, I don't think it's going to be paying off in that situation as well. Then maybe even Equaz could get himself in contention for another podium place as well here. Gordo as well then is challenging. Gordo's got himself into DRS now of the Williams of Equaz as we fly through the final corner. Then here he comes then to challenge for that P4 position then, and Gordo flying down the main straight. Then here he comes then down the inside at Tarzan corner. He's got the move done, has he? Yes, he has. And he's held on then to the position as well. Then P4 now for Gordo and passing Equaz then in the Williams then down to P5 as it stands at the moment. And Serious Mushroom's caught up to his teammate then of Ginger Rage. Then DRS now available for Mushroom as we go through onto lap 65 for them as well. 7 laps remain at the end of this one, then 8 laps remain in total as we go through the final few stages. I thought Mushroom was going to go for a dive then on his teammate then, and Ginger Rage has let him through, I think, there. And maybe there was a bit of a lack of communication between the McLarens there, or maybe they were communicating absolutely perfectly and Ginger Rage was getting out of the way, knowing that Mushroom was going to go down the inside there and go through for P9 here as well. well then, but so far so good then. Mushroom now can try and chase after Vessia then and resume the battle between the Alpines and the McLarens as we go through onto lap 66 very shortly now. Here comes RTB, our race leader, then 13 lap old hard compound tyres. Lap 66 has commenced now. Ginner then is carrying on then, but he's now got a 3-second gap only then back to Kamara Racer, and Gordo now is only 5 seconds behind Kamara as well. Then it could be dangerous indeed. It could be a double Aston Martin podium as it stands as well then, or if Equaz can get himself back past Gordo, then he can get himself into contention for a P3 once again then for Equaz. Of course, he's been a podium challenger, a podium king then for the first races of this season, and we've done 12 already. Mumford passes Young Lights then for P6 then, as these two are in a bit of a fight between the two of them though. There's nobody around them really. 14 seconds up the road then is Equaz, and 10 seconds behind is Vessia then, so it's not really too much of a worry then between the two of them. They're fighting each other then in this race as it stands then to the checkered flag, it looks like, unless there's any mistakes then for other drivers around them as well. Then Equaz then is losing touch then with the Aston Martin of Gordo. Then can he keep himself all together then and keep challenging then the Aston Martin, that green machine then, as we go through into lap 67 now. The gap 2.3 seconds between Kamara and Ginner then as we go through the final quarter then for the Racing Bull, then onto lap 67 as well now for the race leader as well. Then 5 seconds back then to Gordo. Can Gordo gain 7 seconds in the next 5.5 laps or so to get himself into podium contention here? We'll have to wait and see. He's on the fresher tyres in, or sick as Mark and Kiki on the freshest tyres, but they're outside the top 10 for the time being. But Gordo's on the freshest tyres in the top 10, alongside Mushroom as well in P9. Then 10 lap old soft compound tyres compared to Kamara Racer's 16 lap old soft compound tyres, 15 laps for Equaz on the softs as well, then 41 laps for Ginner on the hard compound tyres, and it's now 2 seconds the gap then between Camaro and the Mercedes as we fly through sector 2. And this is where, of course, the soft compound tyres will be much better than the hard compound, or the old worn hard compound tyres at this stage of the race. Now Kiki has the fastest lap of the race. Brilliant stuff indeed from Kiki for keeping going in this Grand Prix and getting that point for himself and his team then in this race as well. 1.5 seconds is under 1.5 seconds. Could Kamara get himself in DRS range then at the end of this lap, then through into sector 3, and now the gap then is steady at 1.4 seconds, now 1.3. The traction zones is where Kamara is gaining so much more than on Ginner. The hard compound tyres are done and dusted in this race. Then 1.1 seconds around the final quarter. Then lap 68, then we said that he was going to be in contention on lap 68 or lap 69. It's going to be lap 68, I think, then, as we go through into Tarzan corner. Let's have a look and see how much Kamara gains in on traction at the exit of this corner then compared to Ginner as we go through then on the traction. Then it's under 1 second now as we head into turn 4. Young Lights has got a 3-second penalty. That's bad news for Young Lights in going through the final quarter somehow, and unfortunately that is going to be, well, it's going to just compound his P7 then. I think pretty much he can battle with Mumford all he wants now, but he's not going to be any higher than P7, unfortunately. Then Kamara Racer now is within DRS range then of the Mercedes of Ginner. Then as we go through sector 2 once again, and this is where he's going to gain even more as we go through into this the last few knockings of the race here as well. Then Vessia has been passed by Mushroom. Mushroom's up into P8 now, and Ginger Age has been brought along with him in the other McLaren as well, and potentially going to challenge Vessia then in this latter stage of the race as well. Then Kamara Racer all over the back of Ginner now as we head into sector 3, and this is where Ginner's tyres are going to be struggling so much then to try and hold on to that P2 position. It's not going to be capable, I don't think, then for the Mercedes drivers to go through into the final couple of corners. Then Kamara Racer just needs to keep it on the circuit, which he almost didn't, but he did a good job then in the end then. And Ginner is coming in the pit. No, he's not. I thought he was going to go in the pit then, but there we are. Then lap 69 has commenced. Then down the inside goes Ginner. Then he's trying to hold on to that place then, but unfortunately Kamara Racer has got the traction. Then he's up into P2 now. 7 seconds the gap then to the race lead, but I think that's it for Kamara. That's as high as he's going to go then, unless R2B has an issue. But goodness me, then 3.5 seconds now for Gordo. Can Gordo challenge Ginner for the podium places? Then Ginner's going to have to try and hold on to the DRS then of the Racing Bull. Then Mumford is back past Young Lights then for P6 here around the Tarzan corner then, as Ginner is doing a good job now. This in sector 2 this time. Then Ginner is doing a good job of holding on then to the back of that Racing Bull. Unfortunately, then that Racing Bull is going to be able to extend the gap then through these couple of corners then with the traction zones that he's got then on those soft compound tyres compared to those very old hard hard compound tyres, but Ginner's still within DRS then, and that could save him here in this race. He could be able to hold on to a podium place then, potentially even steal back P2 if he can hold on to the DRS then of the Racing Bull of Kamara Racer then, because Gordo is going to be gaining on the now under 3 seconds now, the gap then to the top 3 then for Gordo. Then Gordo is looking to try and pounce here in this race then, but look at the time loss then from Ginner then. He's going to be out of DRS range at the end of the next lap then. Lap 70 has commenced here as we head down the main straight once again. Ginner's going to get himself back in contention then, but again, he's going to lose so much time then through the traction zones over the lap then. He's going to be out of DRS then, I think, at the end of this lap as well then, as we head through into turns 3 and 4. And my goodness me then, Kamara Racer is looking to just try and hold it all together then, and he will be in contention then for a fantastic result here for Racing Bull, or for the Racing Bull team that is, as we go through into Sector 2 now once again then on the on lap 70 then. Not the penultimate lap just yet then, we've got another 2 laps to go then at the end of this one, but Kamara Racer looking in good control then for a P2 position here as well. Then if he can just shake off Ginner, then he'll be very much more comfortable indeed, but it seems like he's not trying to make it even harder then for himself then as he goes through into Sector 2 then. He can't quite drop the Mercedes then into Sector 2, and DRS now available then for Ginner as we head into Sector 3, but so far it's been absolutely brilliant stuff indeed. I would like to interview Ginner then, says Big Al. What's his thinking with the strategy? Why not use mediums then, says Big Al. Well, if he gets himself on the podium, then unfortunately he might have lost out to DRS here, but if he gets himself on the podium, then we will ask him that very same question then. But at the moment he's still got DRS then on Kamara Racer as we head on to lap 71 here. Ginner then is actually gaining quite substantially then on Kamara Racer. I'm not quite sure if Kamara's just starting to struggle here, or if he's just playing a bit of games then with Ginner, but I don't think he is. I think he's just, I think maybe he's struggling. Goodness me, I thought Ginner was going to run to the back of him. The Kamara is struggling as well here, I think, and Gordo could be in a prime position here to maybe even get himself a P2 on this grid, even though with 1.5 laps to go in this race, he's only 1.8 seconds behind the top 3. And Kamara is having issues now. I think he's getting a bit nervous out there because he's now starting to struggle then on his soft compound tyres as well. Then Ginner is doing a good job of holding on then to the Racing Bull then. But there is the Aston Martin in the background of Gordo, and Gordo is closing that gap into the 2 of them then very quickly indeed here. And Kamara Racer then could be under a bit of pressure very shortly, but hit behind not from a Mercedes, but behind from an Aston Martin. And we go through then on to lap 72, I think, here very shortly. Yes, we will then. Lap 72 has commenced then for the race leader then. The final lap of the Grand Prix then. Ginner then is just within DRS range then of Kamara Racer once again then, and Gordo then is now just he's tantalisingly close then to a podium place then, 1.3 seconds of course with DRS then for Ginner then to help pull himself along there as well. But if there's any mistakes then I think Gordo might be able to pounce then for a podium place at least then. Potentially if there's mistakes for both of them then he could pounce for a P2 position here. We will have to wait and see then. We'll have to remember to switch to R2 beat when he crosses the line as well then, because we're going to miss that if I'm not too careful. But now Gordo is in DRS range then, but I think it's 1 lap too late unfortunately then for the Aston Martin driver. Unfortunately for Gordo then, he is he's used up a lot of the DRS to try and catch up as well, it looks like, then, because his light's flashing away then. But there we are then. Kamara Racer is going to hold on for the time being, it looks like, as it stands, that is. But of course he's done quite a few laps on his soft compound tyres as well then, so maybe they'll be getting towards the end of their best phase as well then. Ginner's back end stepping out then, and Gordo could try and smell some moves, smell a move potentially into the final couple of corners. We'll have to wait and see. But here comes our race leader then. He's led for quite a substantial amount of this race. We've missed quite a lot of his action as well then, because he was just on his own most of the time. But he claims the race win here. He claims the race win here in Zandvoort then. Brilliant stuff indeed from R2 beat then. Kamara Racer up into P2 then. Ginner has lost out. Gordo is up into P3 then. Gordo claims the podium places by 76 thousandths of a second then. My goodness me, it's a 1-3 for Aston Martin. Kamara Racer then P2. A brilliant race from Kamara as well then. Fantastic result then for the Racing Bull driver. And well commanded, well controlled as well then for this Grand Prix. Ginner down to P4 then on the last corner then of the session. Unfortunately for Ginner then losing out on the podium places by 76 thousandths of a second. Then Equaz P5, Mumford in P6, then Young Lights P7, then Mushroom across the line in P8, then Vessia P9, Ginger Age in P10, then oh dear, I think that was Reflection who's a bit angry there. But there we are then. Fantastic stuff indeed then, and we'll run through the full classification then in just a jiffy then, but fantastic race from all the drivers. Then got to the checkered flag, then Mushroom has been given driver of the day, then Dark Shadow has left the session, but unfortunately was out of the race quite a long time ago then in this Grand Prix, but there we are then. Fantastic stuff indeed then. There is RTB on top step then. Kamara Racer then, his first podium of the season as well then in the Racing Bull, then P2, and Gorda then on the last corner clinching the final podium place there as well then from Jinner by 76 thousandths of a second. Then what a fantastic race that has been, and brilliant stuff indeed to the top three, then brilliant stuff indeed to all the drivers who finished the race as well then, and we'll run through that classification in just a few moments time now as well then. But fantastic stuff indeed to all the drivers then. Can't well, what a challenging circuit it's been then, what a challenging 72 laps it's been as well then, and it just puts absolute credit on their shoulders then, who've completed this Grand Prix. RGB, our race winner then, Kamara Racer in P2. Gorda then rounds off the top three then, brilliant stuff indeed from Gorda as well. Then Jinner P4, Equats P5, Mumford in P6, Young Lights P7, Mushroom in P8, Vessia P9, Ginger Age in P10, Farf then P11, unfortunately one lap down. Same for Sickers Muck then, P12, Justify P13, Reflection P14, Kiki P15, but with fastest lap as well. Then Hungry Stars P16, Coop and Dark Shadow DNF or pit and quit in this Grand Prix and will not be classified. Now, there we go. Fantastic stuff indeed. I don't think they would go the distance, said Jinner then in the comments then. So unfortunately, well, he decided to stay out then on those hard compound tyres, and unfortunately that cost him that final podium place. Then we've got our podium sitters then, our podium, well, our champions, I suppose you could say, for that race. Brilliant stuff indeed then from the likes of R2 then and Kamaro and Gordo. We will just get the interviews underway then very quickly indeed, and we'll start off with our race winner then, R2 then. We didn't see you for most of that race then. How was that for yourself then, sir?
Yeah, was a nice race again. Had a good battle at the first stint with Jinner, but he was on a different strategy. So yeah, after his sauce fell off, I was driving alone for most of the race, and I almost fell asleep and made a minor mistake.
We saw that, and we thought, well, we just after both Big Al in the comment section and myself had said that you almost had a pit stop gap then back to P2 then, and I think we gave you the commentator's curse. But apart from
thank you very much.
apart from that small mistake, then thankfully it didn't cost you anything. But apart from that very small mistake, then it seemed like a very fantastic race from your point of view.
Yeah, it was like final stint was just cruising to the end. I was doubting like, should I put softs on? But if we got a late safety car, I would only add hards. So I was like, okay, I will do the last stint on the hard tires. But I saw the guys, I think Camaro and Equator again on the softs and closing in on me. So I was, like managing the gap, but I wasn't confident. But in the end, it was like, pretty easy.
Gordon's joined us, we can tell.
I can hear him.
Turn your mic off, please. So fantastic stuff. R2 beat them, brilliant stuff, brilliant result then once again then for Aston Martin, and thoughts have been moved out to a Racing Bull.
Yeah, if it's needed, it's needed. So we will see. But
it's still better than the Haas that you were in last season. So it's
for sure. So just let me know in time so I can practice for my new team.
Yes, well, I think I think there's a few drivers calling for your head now already. So I think after that they're going to be after you and me again. But no,
I understand.
Again for yourself. Then what a race win it was. And Gordo has joined us as well. Then Gordo in P3 tonight. Then Gordo, you claimed the victory, so claimed the podium on the final corner. Then can you tell us?
Yeah.
We didn't see it.
So I got quite close to Jen on the last lap, and I kind of didn't go for it, but Stuckman pulled out to kind of go for it, then backed out. I don't know if that spooked Jenner or something, but he went off the track slightly, and I used that to get in the last corner to take third. So yeah.
Well, it was a pretty impressive final stint, sorry, I should say, because you were gaining very quickly, especially in the last few laps there, and it was getting very tense indeed. Then in the commentary box, then, and I think in the comments as well. Then, but a brilliant result then for yourself. Then, and once again, an Aston Martin 1-2. Then, and I asked your teammate then, what do you think about moving down to a bit of a different challenge then in the form of a different car?
If that makes it more competitive and fair, I've got no problems with it. Yeah.
Right then, kick Sauber for you then. Brilliant stuff indeed. No, it won't be that bad. But brilliant stuff once again. An Aston Martin double podium again. Then of course I think repeating the feat then from last week, if I'm not mistaken as well. I can't remember that last week as well. It's too far away. But you two have both been absolutely formidable this season. And have you got any secrets to your success, or have you been working together then, or have you been thinking about strategies, or what's been the plan from your point of view, Gordo?
No, not much thinking at all. Usually just get in, drive, get off. Nah, it's I wouldn't say we've particularly like gone out of our way to work together, but when it suits, we'll definitely try and help each other when we can. That's the best I would say.
That's brilliant stuff. Well, it's good to hear from that as well. Then some good teamwork going on in the garages as well. Then behind the scenes, but fantastic stuff indeed. Once again, a fantastic result then for R2 beat then the race win here tonight here in Zandvoort, and of course Gordo P3 tonight. And in between them was Kamara Racer. Then unfortunately hasn't joined us, but congratulations to Kamara then P2 in the Racing Bull tonight then as well. We'll be back for more action then in where are we next? I think in Monza for the 100% League. So that's going to be a very quick race indeed next week. So stay tuned for that one in 1 week's time. Then before then, we're here in Zandvoort then for gold, silver, and bronze on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So stay tuned to ALR. There's plenty more action coming up then, and we'll see you very soon.